safe from online threats. Don't let them down. Partner with Hamilton Business Technologies to get real-time threat monitoring, advanced security protocols, and experts who monitor it all for you. We care about the success of your business and the communities you serve. Hamilton Business Technologies. Real people, real technology solutions. Connect with us at hamiltonisbusiness.com.
Rashawn Jackson here for Bauer Underground, who has been serving local contractors and utility contractors all across the state since 1997. When you see the black and white trucks, you know the baddest dudes in the business have arrived. Bauer is currently looking for equipment operators, laborers, diesel mechanics, and aerial linemen. Join the brotherhood built on hard work, authentic people, and pedigree of success. Bauer, a family-friendly company who reminds you, go Big Red!
Play ball! Pitch the perfect idea for a family outing or date night with tickets to the next Salt Dogs game. Nothing says summer fun like an action-packed evening at Haymarket Park. Come root for the home team with a hot dog and a cold drink. Plus, visit saltdogs.com to learn about special events and promotions, including group discounts. Don't miss out on the thrill and excitement of a Salt Dogs win. Visit saltdogs.com to reserve your tickets today.
Get the baler you need without breaking the bank at Landmark Implement. Right now, qualified buyers can get 0% fixed for 36 months or stretch it out with a 2.9% fixed rate for 60 months on used John Deere 560M and R-Series round balers. Reliable, field-ready, and priced to move. Don't miss your chance to lock in serious savings before the next cutting rolls around. Visit your local Landmark Implement or head to landmarkimp.com today and experience the Landmark difference.
This is Bill Mitchner, Executive Director of Lincoln Lighthouse. Did you know Lighthouse provides multiple programs for students such as one-on-one tutoring and mentoring, as well as pro-social skill exercises, while providing them a nourishing meal and a safe space during all months of the year, even during school breaks? Learn more or contribute to Lighthouse at lincolnlighthouse.org today.
93.7 The Ticket is proud to provide listeners with daily opportunities to win contests and prizes on our airwaves, and would like to take this opportunity to remind you of a couple rules. All participants must be 21 or older and must wait 30 days after winning a prize to participate in another contest. Once you win, you have 30 days to pick up your prize at the KNTK Studios, 1040 O Street in Lincoln, or your prize will be forfeited. Thank you for participating in our contests, and thank you for listening to 93.7 The Ticket.
Live from Mandalay Bay Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, Nevada, 93.7 The Ticket brings you coverage of the 2025 Big Ten Media Days.
7 yards deep, lets it go to the sideline, Big Six! Tommy Hill, the short run to the house.
Derek Pearson, Jay Foreman, Nick Sainer, and Austin Orman bring you exclusive interviews and in-depth conversations while getting you ready for the upcoming Big Ten football season.
This is a flip to Ja'Cory Barney. He waits for his block, and he steps in for the touchdown. This one in the seam, intercepted. Hartzog with a lane at the 20. Hartzog knocked out of bounds. Deep in Ohio State territory. Mayava, that's intercepted. It is Sierra Wright. Down the sideline into his former house. Unbelievable.
Coverage from Big Ten Media Days is powered by Advanced Medical Imaging, Stevenson Smith Construction, Currency, Warhorse Casino, Gary Michaels Clothiers, and League One Volleyball. This is Big Ten Media Days live from Las Vegas on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome in day 3 for Big Ten Media Days, live from Las Vegas. You've got Austin, you've got Nick, you've got Jay. Contrary to what the banner says, this is not a W, this is Big Ten Media Days. Let's go ahead and get that switched.
You gotta turn my thing up, dude.
The studio, please, thank you. Well, there we go. Is that better, Jay?
Yeah.
You gonna be good? Are you gonna be okay? You with us?
Jay, you guys aren't doing your job, man.
Oh, excuse me?
You guys need to get it together. We are not on the flight back.
I cannot believe how you just come out of the gates, Jay Foreman.
That's how you become.
It's low energy but high sass.
Here's the thing, man. Your mic was on, so everybody heard you.
No, it wasn't. You
Yes,
after-
your mic was up.
Your
You just
mic
couldn't
was
hear
on.
yourself
You
as
just
well
couldn't
as you
hear
needed
yourself.
to.
We'll turn it up.
How's it feel?
We turned it up, Jay.
You got
Can
bamboozled.
you turn it up now?
You got
and give us
bamboozled.
3 hours?
Yeah, I'll give you 2.
This is ridiculous.
All right,
man.
let's make it the best 2 hours
Yeah.
of the week.
I mean,
here,
this
Jay.
is just wild.
What do you have to
2.5.
deal
I
with
got something to do, then I'll be right back.
I know you will.
to help clean up? You're going to walk all this
Yeah.
way, 15 minutes there,
Well, we
15
got-
minutes back.
Okay, then
Lunch is at noon.
okay. Since you negotiated, you got 2. There you go.
Deal.
Since you negotiated, you got 2.
There, simpler.
That's exactly what it was.
Simpler. It's all right.
Since you opened your mouth, you ain't getting that extra 30 minutes.
Well-
You just don't know how to stay in your lane. You've been hanging out with him too much.
We'll just make your 2 hours worth it. We'll make it feel
Sounds like
free.
a deal.
Let's dive into it. Day 3, Big Ten Media Days. Jay, Nick and I talked about it a little bit, but if you look at the 6 teams that are here today, Iowa, Michigan, Michigan State, Purdue, UCLA, USC, not a lot of star power on the docket in terms of players that are going to be speaking. Does that surprise you at all? Does it make sense given who's still around on those rosters? Big name teams, but not necessarily the headlining stars here in Vegas.
Yeah, I mean I would say it's a little bit of a downer, but you don't want to disrespect any of the players because you know what? There's going to be 4 or 5 of those players that end up being, second, third team All Big Ten. So you haven't heard about them as much, and so for the 2 LA teams, they should be feasting on this. Even though Michigan's here, right? You got USC with Lincoln Riley. He'll lead it. Obviously, he's got to get out in front and really pitch his program not only to I guess the powers that be at USC, but obviously through the rest of the Big Ten and the nation. USC is in a tricky spot where they jumped out of the gates last year and went through a lull way too early in the season. Ended the season good, obviously, as we see, saw up close and personal. But then the offseason leads to losing big-time recruits, losing their best offensive player in Branch, losing his brother as well. Kind of restarting. And so this is a big, 6, 7, 8 hours for the USC program from a perception standpoint, right? And you just got to be solid in your thoughts. I felt like last year Lincoln Riley was too abrasive for his personality. It didn't, he was very combative, right? And then when you look at UCLA, right? You start out with Deshaun Foster. The SID and the media people probably need to get Nico tuned up real good because he's going to maybe face some hard questions. But for him, like we talked about, how Nick and Austin, when he first decided to go back to UCLA, this year for him to vamp the perception about him and probably put that Tennessee last like 3 months behind him starts today. Everything that he was able to do inside that locker room started when he started spring, but the national perception and potentially going to the next level, with the good perception, obviously headlining by his play, hopefully starts today.
I find it really interesting because I think like that's the part, right? Is all the offseason stuff with Nico can be voided, forgotten about, moved on from by not only how he handles today, but how the next 3 months go for the UCLA Bruins, because UCLA surprised some folks last year, right? I think when you moved on and obviously, Chip Kelly moves on, Deshaun Foster moves in, first-time head coach, former running back coach, hadn't been a coordinator in his time yet. There was curiosity, and he comes out here, stumbles a little bit, but in the football world, if you know Deshaun Foster, he's a dude, right?
Yeah,
that's all that matters, right? That's all that matters is how Deshaun Foster is viewed in the football world rather than on a podium. I think he's going to be better prepared today. He has more of an understanding of what it looks like, right, and what it feels like. And now UCLA, who once again they won some marquee road games last year. They came on the road.
They beat Iowa.
They beat Iowa.
They beat Nebraska.
They came into Lincoln and beat Nebraska. Ethan Garbers, who was the quarterback, who's now at Tennessee, ran all over Nebraska. That was a big reason why. And you could say that they had a good quarterback situation there, but now they've probably upgraded a little bit. And a big problem.
Ethan Garber's in the pros.
Excuse me. Yes, UCLA's.
It was Joey Aguilar.
Aguilar
and
goes
who
to
just
Tennessee.
transferred there, then he transferred again.
Yes,
he was there for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, thank you. And so, but then once again, is you have it to where if you're UCLA, you can build off of last season, and you probably upgraded a little bit at the quarterback position.
For sure.
Nico Yamaliava, a lot of Tennessee's issue, it just didn't fit him, right?
Yeah.
I think Deshaun Foster in that system is going to be a lot better for Nico.
Yeah, and plus, I guess, he's back home.
Yeah.
And then obviously everybody wants to talk about the different tax situation and all that. He's highly compensated, trust me. And I'm sure there's some benefits that don't go on the black and white that he's able to take advantage of at UCLA. I think the biggest thing where people don't, when you look at UCLA, they just look at the end of the year record. But they're like Wisconsin. They had if not the hardest schedule in the nation, one of the hardest schedules in the nation, with a new coach that was hired. Doesn't matter if he played there or not. He became a head coach late. You got to remember, Chip Kelly, I think, left after the first portal kind of season.
That's right.
And then he got the offensive coordinator job. And so there wasn't any – they probably interviewed some people, and obviously we knew PJ Fleck's name magically popped up, but then they got Deshaun Foster. So he was always behind the eight ball, even though he knew the team. But you go from running back coach / assistant head coach to head coach and running the whole program. I think he did a good job. And so the one also thing that people don't realize about UCLA, they had 3 or 4 guys drafted. One guy drafted really, really high from the linebacker. But defensively, they were more physical and fast than people give them credit for. And so they're going to continue along that tradition. On the defensive end, they're expecting Nico to bring the type of athletic ability and playmaking ability that Nico thinks and his dad thought wasn't able to be put on display at Tennessee. They felt like he was too confined to one read and throw the ball. It didn't fit how he kind of, became a 5-star recruit and an internet sensation before he got to Tennessee.
To Jay's point on the defense, those 3 guys, I think the three headliners for UCLA, Jay Toia, Carson Schlesinger, the big draft pick there, and then Kane Medrano, who I think was the one that had the pick 6 against Nebraska last year. Those were 3 tone setters for UCLA defensively, a team that numbers might not jump off the page at you, but it feels similar but different to the David Braun situation. We talked about a little bit yesterday. Not the same circumstances, right, with Pat Fitzgerald versus Chip Kelly, but
the timing.
Assistant coach, timing, what talent do they really have there? What can they get out of them? And these coaches said, you know what, this is the hand I've been dealt. Here's how these cards are going to get played. And they both end up with, for their level, really successful seasons given the circumstances.
Yeah, Austin, if you could pull up their schedule, just think about that first 4 games that they went on last year, and they were actually pretty competitive in all those games. For UCLA, even though last year they were like, all right, we want to win all our games, they were getting better and get positive, I guess, mental wins out of those games.
So they started out on the road at Hawaii. So that's quite a jaunt. They win that one 16-13. Indiana says we're here with a 42-13 win over the Bruins. They go to LSU. That game ends up 34-17. They host Oregon 34-13. Then they go to Penn State, lose it 27-11. Welcome Minnesota into Westwood. They lose that one by 4, 21-17. And then that kick-started 3 straight wins. The road win at Rutgers. Bye week, come to Nebraska, get up 27-7, hold on to win that one. And then right after that short week, they from at Nebraska, they go back home. Iowa comes out there, they beat them 20-17.
That's that validation that we always talk about after Birdie validation. And I think their season started to turn that LSU game, even though it was a 17-point loss. It was a late score, that kind of brought it to that. So it looks a lot different than actually what it really was. And so also, you got to think Deshaun Foster and
well, that game was 17-17 at the half.
Right. So so when LSU had more energy in the tank to really kind of blow it open, they competed all 4 quarters. When you would probably think that's a game you're all right, we're going to get you in, we're going to get the second and third team in, and they competed. And I guess a coaching standpoint, when you're trying to implore players, motivate players, create a culture of we're going to play all 60 minutes. When you do that, then you start to win 3 in a row. And I can almost guarantee if we were able to ask the guys from last year, they felt like they lost or let some games slip away after that Iowa victory. To go and beat Nebraska, a physical game, validate it against Iowa on Friday night, a primetime game, and everybody's watching. And Iowa had a lot to play for then, right? Whereas they probably felt like, all right, we have them right where we want them. They actually looked pretty impressive, both offensively and defensively, the way that they won that game. They probably feel like they left some meat on the bone last year. And so it'll be interesting to see what type of adjustments that they made from last year, but more importantly, what they look like from an offensive standpoint versus where they were last year.
Well, the other thing that we have not mentioned with UCLA from a coaching point as well is new offensive coordinator in town, right? Eric Bieniemy was the offensive coordinator last year on an offense that was heavy passing but had no rushing attack.
Yeah.
This year we remember, so Jalen Berger, who's been a Big Ten running back his entire career, just for 3 different schools now, started his career off at Wisconsin, started his career off at Wisconsin, then went to Michigan State, had a season where he rushed for over 600 yards back in 2022, got banged up and got hurt last year, now transfers out of East Lansing and is in Hollywood with UCLA. And so now he's going to kind of be a starter, a senior there for him. They brought in a transfer from Utah, Anthony Woods, in that backfield to help out a rushing offense that was 131st in the country last year.
Out of like 134, right?
Yeah, right. And so also, I mean, here's the other part is in total offense, UCLA ranked outside 115th. They were 117th in total offense. They move on from Eric Bieniemy. They upgrade themselves at the quarterback position. We just talked about that. They get better at the running back position as well. And then they bring in the co-offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach from the University of Indiana, Tino Sansiri. So that is who's kind of in charge now as the OC and as the quarterbacks coach for UCLA, for an Indiana team that Curtis Rorick had a really nice year last year for the Hoosiers.
He really did. It's funny looking up and down this UCLA roster from last year. The guy with the most catches and the most yards on that offense, Maliki Matavao, tight end.
And he's
legit.
And he's a dude.
He's legit.
Yeah.
Second on the team in catches, TJ Hart, running back. Yeah. 40 catches for 368 yards. I mean, he had like 72% of the rushing yards or receiving yards as he did the rushing yards. I think what held UCLA back last year was J. Michael Sturdivant was not the same player. That's a guy that came into the year with a lot of promise, had a couple pretty decent years before that. He plays 11 games, but only 22 catches for 315 yards. I mean, 41, 40, 31, 29, 28, 22, 19, 12, 12, 11, 10. There's decent numbers of guys catching the ball there, but no one was a stud outside of Matavao, the tight end, and Harden out of the backfield. Yeah. But if those are your primary pass catchers, even one explosive option on the outside, I mean, that's another 3, 4, 5 points per game.
And it's on and popping early because they got Utah to open up the season.
Right, and Utah's looking for some get back. Too. They got 2 bookend NFL tackles, so they're going to line up and try to punch you in the face. And back to what UCLA and Hart, I think where Eric Bieniemy maybe I love Eric Bieniemy, but I felt like maybe pivoted too quickly to using Hart in the slot. So what they did was they went to the old kind of San Francisco 49ers. If we can't line up and just create creases, in the regular conventional run game, we have a good pass catching running back to create some mismatches in the slot. And then the quarterback just fell in love with it. You got a tight end. I remember we were doing the UCLA preview. I remember on Old School, Nick and Austin, that we talked about. I said, this dude is for real. He doesn't get a lot of opportunities because they don't have the ball a lot. Yeah. But he is the third down king. He came in, showed out well against Nebraska. He did it all year, and I think correct me if I'm wrong, he did get drafted, or is he back?
Matavao, he is in the NFL. Looks like he is with the Saints.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so that's an NFL tight end right there. You got to think it's a team like UCLA, 4 guys at least that are on to the next level, and so. It'll be interesting to see what they do to shape this offense for Nico, because they have to do that in order to make a big jump. You are dead last in everything. Look, you can say there's 134 teams, as far as and you're ranked 131, you're last, because the other 3, nobody knows who they are. Everybody knows UCLA.
You got to give some credit to Charleston Southern for being 132.
It's called the benefit of the doubt.
Benefit of the doubt. My bad.
Right. So, but the thing is this: when a blue blood Power 4 school is 131, you have to make a move, but then also you have to change your philosophy and identity, because you have to score points in this day and age of college football, and you're playing Utah. You're going to have to be able to do something different than what you did last year. Now, Nico will lead that. It'll be interesting to see how they go about using Nico's skill set to create advantages both in the conventional pass game and then out on the edges, and how those receivers or tight ends or running backs, or a combination of all 3 different position groups, actually excel.
Yeah.
Because he can run now, and he's physical, and he can throw on the run. How do you temper that so it's not your whole, remember where when Adrian Martinez here said, okay, let him run around and get something that's great, But when you get in those big games against Utah, because they're
Right.
going to have a good defense, or against you like a USC or a Michigan, Ohio State, they got guys that can pick them up and put them down just like him. So you're going to have to be able to be schematically sound, but more importantly, philosophy has to be perfect, and has to be perfect for Nico in UCLA.
You bring up Adrian Martinez, some early news out of the NFL this morning. Justin Fields feared a lower leg injury. Sounds like it's just a dislocated toe.
Oh, wow.
So sounds like he's going to end up being okay. Adrian Martinez, of course, a member of the New York Jets. We'll see how many training camp reps he gets with this Justin Fields injury news.
He's going to get a ton, and that's good for Adrian, and it's good for Justin that, he's not, too banged up, because obviously it's a huge opportunity for him. And, Adrian has kind of worked his way up. He went to the UFL and I think it was the MVP. They won the championship and kind of just cut his teeth through different. The one thing I want to say about Adrian is that maybe the adversity that I think it was too much too quick when he was younger. They were talking about Heisman in his second year. And then the expectations grew to the point that where he couldn't match those. Dealing with that adversity, got injured. Reinvent yourself, learn, because remember he started in Detroit, I think.
Yep,
right.
That's right.
Then he kind of cut his teeth. Then he gets to New York, different two or three different coordinators. Here comes Aaron Rodgers, and he sticks around because he's made improvement. You cannot say that he hasn't gotten better as the years have gone on. So hopefully he gets more opportunity here throughout the preseason.
Looking forward to seeing how that goes for Adrian Martinez. Let's stick with the boys in green, but bring it back to the Big Ten. Let's talk some Michigan State, another fascinating team taking the podium here today. Their headliner, Big Ten Media Days, is Nick Marks. That's a guy that was an all Big Ten honoree last year. Jonathan Smith is their head coach, back for his second year wearing the white and the green. Austin, Nick, Jay, DP in the building here. We'll be right back with more from Mandalay Bay.
This is Big Ten Media Days live from Las Vegas, presented by Advanced Medical Imaging, Stevens & Smith Construction, Currency, Warhorse Casino, Gary Michaels Clothiers, and League One Volleyball on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Get rid of pesky critters once and for all with Bats to Rats. Their expert team is here to help you reclaim your home. No more sleepless nights caused by crawling critters or flapping wings. Bats to Rats ensures a safe environment for every family member. Check the website at batstoRats.com for amazing offers. And if you mention this ad, you'll receive $10 off your initial inspection cost. Call Bats to Rats today at 402-781-8691. That's 402-781-8691. Bats to Rats.
It's never too late to start protecting your company's data from cyber attacks. Your customers put their trust in you to keep their information safe from online threats. Don't let them down. Partner with Hamilton Business Technologies to get real-time threat monitoring, advanced security protocols, and experts who monitor it all for you. We care about the success of your business and the communities you serve. Hamilton Business Technologies. Real people, real technology solutions. Connect with us at hamiltonisbusiness.com.
This is former Husker and NFL linebacker Jay Foreman. For years, I've suffered from degenerative problems in both of my ankles, but thanks to a thorough and thought-out plan provided by Advanced Medical Imaging, I was able to get my life back with the least amount of pain as possible. While working through multiple options, the team of physicians at Advanced Medical Imaging were there to answer any questions I had. If you're experiencing any pain at all and want to get your life back, go to amimaging.com or give them a call at 402-484-6677. Advanced Medical Imaging, located at 7601 Pioneers Boulevard.
Schweizo Construction is now hiring for skilled craftsmen, steel erectors, concrete workers, and general laborers. Schweizo Construction offers great benefits like premium wages, health and dental insurance, paid holidays and vacation, 401k with company match, life insurance, and disability insurance. They pride themselves on a legacy of 40 years built on integrity and trust. Joining their team means becoming part of a family that values hard work, dedication, and mutual respect. Apply today at schweizo.com. That's SCHWISOW.com.
Hi, it's Charlie Stone and Andy Goodyear of Honda of Lincoln with more exciting news for area car buyers.
Charlie, it's just announced that Honda of Lincoln has won 3 of the Lincoln Journal-Star's Lincoln Choice Awards: Best New Car Dealer, Best Auto Repair, and Best Place to Get Your Oil Changed.
Wow, that's great, Andy. Anything else?
Yes, we were runner-up for Best Pre-Owned Dealer and Best Tire Dealer. A lot of people don't understand that we do sell tires here.
Very exciting, Andy. Why do you think your dealership is winning so many awards?
Charlie, we simply say It's the Honda of Lincoln way of doing business.
Looks like Honda of Lincoln is the great news headquarters for Lincoln.
Yes, and even all of Nebraska, we are also announcing that Honda of Lincoln's the only dealer in the state of Nebraska to win the prestigious Honda President's Award for 2024.
Honda of Lincoln, Nebraska's #1 volume Honda dealer, 27th and Yankee Hill Road, or online at hondaoflincoln.com.
Saturday. Eagle Raceway is open for a full season of dirt track racing action every Saturday night. Don't miss the epic battles on the high banks of Eagle Raceway each Saturday between the Nebraska Septic Sprint Cars, Nebraska Lottery Modifieds, Avid Realty Sport Mods, Valentino's Hobby Stocks, and A1 Iron Stock Cars. Let's go racing. Eagle Raceway, just 10 miles east of Lincoln on O Street. Check out the full schedule at eagleraceway.com.
This just in. Hot off the bench press. Planet Fitness has expanded strength equipment. Save $28 or more when you join today. We're raising the bar with these benches, and our hack squat will have you actually looking forward to leg day. Plus, we're still repping all the best-in-class equipment we've always had. There's no better time to get stronger. So join Planet Fitness today and save $28 or more. Just $1 down, $15 a month.
Find your nearest club and join today. Deal ends July 31st.
See Home Club for details.
Big box stores are tempting for buying equipment for your high schooler in sports or for yourself in your sports leisures. But buying new is awfully expensive. Why not go somewhere with new and used options? Play It Again Sports has quality, slightly to gently used equipment, and 50% of their inventory is actually new equipment. And it's more than baseball, softball, and golf. They also have equipment for disc golf, fitness, hockey, and more. Plus, they're always buying products. Bring your gear you're done with and get trade money on the spot. Play It Again Sports at 48th and Vine.
Get the baler you need without breaking the bank at Landmark Implement. Right now, qualified buyers can get 0% fixed for 36 months or stretch it out with a 2.9% fixed rate for 60 months on used John Deere 560M and R-Series round balers. Reliable, field-ready, and priced to move. Don't miss your chance to lock in serious savings before the next cutting rolls around. Visit your local Landmark Implement or head to landmarkimp.com today and experience the Landmark difference.
Rashawn Jackson here for Bauer Underground, who has been serving local contractors and utility contractors all across the state since 1997. When you see the black and white trucks, you know the baddest dudes in the business have arrived. Bauer is currently looking for equipment operators, laborers, diesel mechanics, and aerial linemen. Join the brotherhood built on hard work, authentic people, and pedigree of success. Bauer, a family-friendly company who reminds you, go Big Red!
The 2026 Love Omaha volleyball season is coming, and memberships are on sale now. Catch your favorite stars, Lexi Rodriguez, Jordan Larson, and more with a guaranteed 8 home matches right here in Nebraska. Season memberships start at just $112. That's unbeatable value for world-class volleyball. Don't miss a moment of the action. Go to lovb.com/season and grab yours today. That's lovb.com/season.
Welcome back to 93.7 The Ticket's coverage of Big Ten Media Days live from Las Vegas. Presented by Advanced Medical Imaging, Stevens and Smith Construction, Currency, Warhorse Casino, Gary Michaels Clothiers, and League One Volleyball on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We're here, hour one of our official Big Ten Media Days Day 3 coverage. A couple good hours on the drive, but second segment of the first hour of Media Days kicking off, as always, in the 11 o'clock Pacific hour. This segment brought to you by Currency. Are you looking for an exciting new way to put your skills to work? You can explore new career options at Currency, a Sandhills global company. They offer full-time positions in financial sales, compliance, operations, and other fields. They offer a 4.5-day work week, and attractive benefits package, and opportunities for advancement. You can learn more by visiting gocurrency.com/careers to learn more. All right, fellas, from UCLA to Michigan State. Day 3 teams here, a year 2 for Jonathan Smith. Nick, we'll give you the floor first. Your thoughts on the Spartans here and what you're expecting to hear from Jonathan Smith and the 3 players he brought along with him.
Well, I think there's a lot of excitement about the future for Michigan State, right? It's the prototypical year 2 of a coach. Everybody settles in year 1, and especially when you bring your quarterback with you from a spot. Everybody kind of knew that, okay, Aiden Childs is going to be kind of connected with Jonathan Smith for at least the first couple of years of his tenure. But then when you look at Michigan State, there was just a few things of disconnect last year. Talked about it. They lost their starting running back, Jalen Berger, last year because he transferred out, had 683 yards at one point in his career. That'd be a positive season for somebody in a Nebraska uniform, right? Nebraska hasn't had a 600-plus rushing yard, or excuse me, a running back that's rushed over 600 yards consistently. There's been flashes and pans and things like that, whether it's been Ramir Johnson one year, whether it was Emmett Johnson as well. But it's just been, I think with Michigan State, you have a dynamic quarterback in Aiden Childs in the backfield, and if it matches up well, it's how can you surround him with playmakers at Michigan State, and they've been active in the transfer portal. And you guys know how I feel about Jonathan Smith. I think he's a really good guy for the Michigan State program, a program that needs to be built back up, and he did it at Oregon State in a conference that was a little less challenging than the Big Ten, obviously. But I do like what Jonathan Smith brings to Michigan State.
Well, Jay, we're not sure how much Nick likes Jonathan Smith anymore. A chance to shake the guy's hand and just ships in the night.
Yeah, it's not David Potney or whatever his name is.
Stop. That's certainly not what I didn't want to either.
But yeah, it's John Smith out there, Coach Smith he fits Michigan State, and I think that schools like Michigan State and different schools across the nation, who they hire has to be a good fit for the previous culture, but the identity of the school, kind of a hard-nosed, tough, and always are kind of feel like they're getting the short end of the stick based on what Michigan is always getting first dibs on things. And so, how he built Oregon State is not going to be apples to apples, how he's going to have to do at Michigan State. But I felt like last year they were obviously competitive. I think the roster was a little depleted. Obviously, you had the likes of like Sam Levitt that left, probably a future first-round pick, and obviously all Big 12 quarterback, and was really, really good. And obviously he's going to continue to get better down in Arizona State. And so, with Childs, it's got to be that big jump. It's kind of almost like, with us and Dylan. Now, I don't think they probably have the skill players that we've have, and if they do, it's not as much depth. But you want to see the touchdown to interception ratio get better quickly. So you would thinking for him and the way that Coach Smith wants to play, I would say 18-6 would be a phenomenal jump for him. So
absolutely.
Then the talk would be like, okay, we have our quarterback of the present in the near future, which would be another year after. And then obviously Rossi coming over, a big hire, and you think, you hire a head coach that fits your identity, then you hire the most important next coach in his mind, Coach Smith's mind, your defensive coordinator, away from a Big Ten team.
Yeah.
Well established both in the Big Ten as a coordinator nationally and Rossi, and the defense has to improve along with offense.
In a Big Ten school, sorry, Nick, that's in the same kind of vein as Minnesota, where not the headliner in the state, where you're kind of competing for the same types of talent. And now that Michigan State is out of that Big Ten East division, I think Minnesota is a really good model for them to follow. So to get a guy like Joe Rossi who knows some of the inner workings of that, I think that's a comparable sort of program.
It's been really interesting to see how they've changed also their approach. And I'd be interested to see how much Jonathan Smith talks about this today, because if you do a little bit of a deeper dive, and I was looking at this last night after we saw Jonathan Smith, I was looking at a little bit more of how they've attacked the offseason in 2024 when they got there versus when how they've attacked it this year. You look back at 2024, they brought in 13 transfer portal pieces in the spring portal window. 11 of those all were sophomores and juniors, multiple years of experience left. You look at now 2025, how they attacked it. They brought in 6 people in the transfer portal window. 5 of those 6 were seniors or graduate transfers from group of 5 levels that had a lot of experience, or JUCO guys. The thing about that, lower ceilings, but a lot more experience than what they brought in 2024, which points to, in year one of Jonathan Smith, it's a lot about the development piece. Right. You looked at it last year.
Who can you get in the door?
Yeah, that part as well. But you looked at it in 2024 in that season and said, okay, they're really shaping up to try to win and really improve for 2026.
Yeah, and it's a good mix, right? When you're getting guys in the portal in the first year, they have a couple years left, and you're like, okay, they've improved, but we need a big jump. So we're going to get more established players that are mature and have been productive to help that improvement or that jump that you need be even faster. and hopefully lead to more wins on our part.
It's basically you're bringing in guys that can fill the void or fill the gap for one season, and while not hindering the development of the younger guys that you brought in 2 years ago.
And that's the hard thing to do, and that's where you have to really have a clear plan. And maybe it's something that they've had to do on a more regular basis at Oregon State, because they had to develop players.
Yeah.
You couldn't you're not getting 5 stars up there.
Yeah.
And I know they had DJ, but I think that's one of the things that's the hardest thing for these coaches now, is to make sure it's not just roster man. Everybody thinks roster management is just how much you're paying the players. Roster management is allocating certain amount of scholarships and the grade levels per position group, and then you have to measure the production output, because there's a guy that maybe needs literally 2 years in a nutrition program, some time management, on the field training and development, and then he's ready to go. So if it all goes to plan, I'm sure we'll be looking back and that's or decisions in his first year of the portal, how he did it, really, right? Mm-hmm. Younger guys, and then obviously older guys in the second one. And also it lets you know that he's had some eyes on guys in that first year that he might not have been able to get at Oregon, or thought he could possibly get at that time, or Oregon State, that he was able to get at Michigan State.
I think it's interesting because you look at Jonathan Smith, his time with quarterbacks, that's another underlying move that Jonathan Smith made this year. He moved on from his longtime quarterbacks coach Lindgren, moved into John Boyer, who's been an assistant QB coach. Quarterbacks under Jonathan Smith have had a tough time progressing and developing over a consistent amount of times, right? The short-term improvement's been there. DJ Uiagalelei had a decent year at Oregon State. Jake Browning at his time at Washington was under Jonathan Smith. But then Aiden Childs, he struggled to develop in his first 2 years. Now, he didn't play a ton at Oregon State, but had the command of the offense. Last year, struggled a little bit. They moved to a new quarterbacks coach. This is a massive year for the individual development of Aiden Childs. This is when we find out, okay, in your junior year, are you capable of being an NFL guy or not? And will that then turn Michigan State to having to look for a quarterback in a what would be, if Aiden Childs doesn't develop and progress, what would be a very crucial year 3 for Jonathan Smith.
Yeah, then that's huge, because you want to have steady improvement, right? You got to give him credit. 13-11, we're happy with our quarterback at 13-11. And how does that 13-11 look, right? Is it ones that, I always say all interceptions aren't created equal? Are they tip passes, or are they just bad reads, overthrows, so forth and so on? Those are the bad reads and the overthrows. You can fix those. That one by fundamentals, other by obviously watching more tape and developing in the classroom. And then also you want to make sure that you're able to not put the 100% of the onus on the quarterback. You have to make sure those transfers like Kelly and those guys that you got out of the portal that are doing their part and they're developing. And more importantly, the big thing that these older players have to do on the offensive line, they got 3 guys out of the portal on the offensive line, 2 receivers. Part of their evaluation, and I guess earning their paycheck, right, is bringing Childs along with them, right? I mean, let's face it. He was a freshman on the field last year. He's just a sophomore this year. And this is, and it's in particular, you got 5 guys on offense. This is a whole new offense as far as personnel and who he's going to have to depend on, starting this year.
That's where having a receiver like Nick Marsh, the representative here at Big Ten Media Days today, tight end like Jack Velling, I think is going to go a long way, put up decent numbers. Let's keep talking about Michigan State after we get back from a short commercial break. Big thanks again to Currency for their sponsorship. Visit gocurrency.com/careers to learn more about their 4.5-day work week, attractive benefits package, and opportunities for advancement. We'll look at Michigan State's schedule. How did they get to 5-7 last year? What happened that they missed out on a bowl game with everything to play for them in the last week of the season? And how does the schedule set up for the Spartans in year 2 under Jonathan Smith? That's ahead next on The Ticket.
This is Big Ten Media Days live from Las Vegas, presented by Advanced Medical Imaging, Stevens & Smith Construction, Currency, Warhorse Casino, Gary Michaels Clothiers, and League One Volleyball on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Summertime is here, and you know what that means. Grilling season. You know what's more embarrassing than an overcooked piece of meat? Your dirty, disgusting, and grimy grill. Let the pros at Husker Grill Cleaning get you ready for grilling season. They'll take your grill apart piece by piece, scrub every inch, and reassemble it so it can look and perform its best. Visit their website, huskergrillcleaning.com today to schedule your appointment. Husker Grill Cleaning, serving Lincoln, Omaha, Malcolm, and more.
Get the baler you need without breaking the bank at Landmark Implement. Right now, qualified buyers can get 0% fixed for 36 months or stretch it out with a 2.9% fixed rate for 60 months on used John Deere 560M and R-Series round balers. Reliable, field-ready, and priced to move. Don't miss your chance to lock in serious savings before the next cutting rolls around. Visit your local Landmark Implement or head to landmarkimp.com today and experience the Landmark difference.
Make bill paying a breeze with Text to Pay. LDS texts you 1 week before your bill's due date. Just reply to the text to pay. It's that easy. Login.com to sign up today.
Rashawn Jackson here for Bauer Underground, who has been serving local contractors and utility contractors all across the state since 1997. When you see the black and white trucks, you know the baddest dudes in the business have arrived. Bauer is currently looking for equipment operators, laborers, diesel mechanics, and aerial linemen. Join the brotherhood built on hard work, authentic people, and pedigree of success. Bauer, a family-friendly company who reminds you, go Big Red!
This July, Acres is celebrating the birth of our nation. The fireworks include the opportunity to save big with great pricing on our late model John Deere ag equipment. Plus, you can lock in interest rates as low as 1.9% on select used John Deere planters, tractors, sprayers, and combines. Red hot rates combined with our explosive discounts make July the perfect time to buy and save. Don't wait. These deals won't last long. Visit acres.com for all the details. That's AKRS.com. Restrictions apply. Offer July 31st, 2025. Some approved financing. Offer may change anytime without notice.
On the Block with Eric Strickland, Jay Foreman, and Austin Orman.
Hey, I don't want to hate on Joe Burrow. He's clearly in this tier. I think he's the bottom of this tier. I would go Allen Jackson and then Burrow.
You should be a politician.
You know what I'm saying? You see what he did?
Yeah, he didn't have any
He doing all the
yeah.
time. It's tricky, man.
Keep going, Jay.
No,
Speak my language.
Stop
You're
it.
speaking my language. Come on.
You didn't let him get you, Jay. I can't believe you let him get you again.
Every weekday from 3 to 5 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Mike, I've been thinking our house could really use a makeover. How about new siding?
I've been thinking the same thing. Have you heard of James Hardy?
Yes. Sarah down the street had Roofing Service Company install James Hardy siding on their home, and they love it.
Roofing Service Company does have great reviews.
They took her through the design process and made everything super easy.
Roofing Service Company offers expert design and installation. Couple that with James Hardy's durable products and variety of colors, you and your family will love your exterior remodel. Just visit roofingservicecompany.com. That's roofingservicecompany.com.
This is former Husker and NFL linebacker Jay Foreman. For years, I've suffered from degenerative problems in both of my ankles, but thanks to a thorough and thought-out plan provided by Advanced Medical Imaging, I was able to get my life back with the least amount of pain as possible. While working through multiple options, the team of physicians at Advanced Medical Imaging were there to answer any questions I had. If you're experiencing any pain at all and want to get your life back, go to amimaging.com or give them a call at 402-484-6677. Advanced Medical Imaging, located at 7601 Pioneers Boulevard.
Breaking here at the news desk. When you stack Allo Internet, DirecTV, and mobile, you can lock in your price for 2 years. Sources are confirming that when you stack Allo Internet, DirecTV, and mobile, your monthly price drops and you're locked in for 2 years. That's fiber fast internet, premium streaming TV, and reliable nationwide mobile coverage. And this just in, you must switch by Labor Day to secure that locked-in pricing for 2 years. Switch, stack, and save at allofiber.com/stack.
Big box stores are tempting for buying equipment for your high schooler in sports or for yourself in your sports leisures. But buying new is awfully expensive. Why not go somewhere with new and used options? Play It Again Sports is quality, slightly to gently used equipment, and 50% of their inventory is actually new equipment. And it's more than baseball, softball, and golf. They also have equipment for disc golf, fitness, hockey, and more. Plus, they're always buying products. Bring your gear you're done with and get trade money on the spot. Play It Again Sports at 48th and Vine.
Schweizo Construction is now hiring for skilled craftsmen, steel erectors, concrete workers, and general laborers. Schweizo Construction offers great benefits like premium wages, health and dental insurance, paid holidays and vacation, 401k with company match, life insurance, and disability insurance. They pride themselves on a legacy of 40 years built on integrity and trust. Joining their team means becoming part of a family that values hard work, dedication, and mutual respect. Apply today at Schwizo.com. That's SCHWISOW.com.
Welcome back to 93.7 The Ticket's coverage of Big Ten Media Days live from Las Vegas. Presented by Advanced Medical Imaging, Stevens & Smith Construction, Currency, Warhorse Casino, Gary Michaels Clothiers, and League One Volleyball on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Wrapping up our first hour from day 3, Austin, Nick, and Jay on air with you here from Vegas. Stevens & Smith Construction is your concrete specialist in Lincoln since 1971. They're also located in Omaha and Kansas City. You can learn more at stevensandsmith.com. I mentioned the schedule for Michigan State. Last year, started out 3-0, 16-10 win over Florida Atlantic, win their Week 2 conference game against Maryland 27-24 in College Park. Their remaining non-conference games were a win over Prairie View A&M and a road loss to Boston College. So Michigan State's at 3-1, entering the meat of conference play with 2 big ones. Ohio State came to East Lansing, beat them 38-7. Michigan State traveled out to Oregon, competed, didn't show very well, but I mean 31-10, right? Depressed some of the point totals for Oregon in that one. Then they beat Iowa. But at this point, you look at where Michigan State is at. They're sitting there with a record of 4-3. Aiden Childs, probably the best game of his season last year, was that win over Iowa at the Woodshed. Then a tough, tight loss to Michigan, 24-17, blown out by Indiana, 47-10. Go on the road to Illinois, 38-16. So there's Michigan State sitting. That'd be at 4-6. 2 games left to get to bowl eligibility last year. They beat Purdue 24-17, and then it all came crashing down in the last week of the year. A big loss to Rutgers, 41-14. It's hard to look back and say there were too many missed opportunities for Michigan State. Maybe Boston College, but that was a bowl-bound team eventually. That's a coin flip game. But, man, even if you lose to Rutgers, that's a home game. That's not a great look, even though Rutgers was solid. Again, kind of a coin flip game. It's one thing if you lose at 17-14 with 2 really good defenses, but man, to give up 41 points to Rutgers the last game of the year, and that keeps you from going bowling, maybe not the momentum heading into the offseason that Jonathan Smith would have liked.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't think it'll be any overflow for it, but that definitely is an eyesore in your first year. And Coach Smith probably coming in and with high expectations and probably felt like he could do more with this roster than people probably projected before the season, and he started out doing it, and there's opportunities left out there. The Boston College for sure. That's number one. That's number one. That's a game right there where not only you give that away on the road or you don't complete that mission on the road, but that's a chance to win 4 in a row. You won 3 in a row, and you can start out 4-0. Then it's a different game maybe when you go and play Ohio State, even though you got beat by 31. Probably a little bit more competitive at with Oregon. Maybe not. And then you beat Iowa and finally get your, ducks in a row. And then they're probably looking at that Michigan game as well, because Michigan was struggling about them. There was a lot of heat up in Michigan. They weren't the same team as the defending national champion. And you know what? It's at Michigan. They held serve in a rivalry game. That's fine. But to end the game of beating Purdue, having the good – first of all, it's not just beating Purdue at home. Yeah. And then the final game at home. Senior day or whatever you want to call it, obviously senior day is involved, to go out there and lay that huge egg against an offense in Rutgers. And I think Kyle Monangai had already been shut down by then. Where they hang 40. Rutgers is not an explosive offense.
Well,
and you let it give up 41 points and you only score 14.
So in that game,
Monangai rushed for 130 in a
touchdown. Then I guess he went for 130.
But that's fine. But the point still stands though, because you look at the box score. That's the perfect example of a box score not explaining the course of the game, because if you look at that 41-14 loss to Rutgers, Michigan State had 1 interception. Aiden Childs threw the ball fine. It wasn't anything special, right? The problem was Michigan State had 7 penalties, and then in addition is Michigan State just couldn't drive the ball down the field. They just could not move the football, and it's almost like you look at that and you go, okay, how did Rutgers score 41 points in this? If you look, second quarter, they tacked on a couple of field goals. Third quarter, they tacked on a couple of field goals and a touchdown. Fourth quarter, they had 10 points. They just consistently started to wear you down. Right. And you look up at the scoreboard and you go, well, crap, it's 41-14. How did we get here? It's a weird situation. I think you look at the schedule this year, Jay, you said it yesterday, that the litmus test for Michigan State to see what type of team they could be this year is Boston College. Just like it could have been last year, it's going to be that this year.
Yeah, and this is a different Boston College team. Obviously, they had a couple of really good players, or three of them actually went high in the NFL draft. So you talk about talent for talent. I think Boston College isn't where Michigan State possibly is, especially at the quarterback position. They had some turnover there and had a different quarterback when Nebraska played them. And essentially just throwing them out there after the first quarterback shut it down based on playing time. And you get them at home, and it's the second game of the season. Then you feel like, okay, we feel really good with Youngstown State at USC. You know, you go on a long road trip, and just like, you know, we can pull an upset here. But when you think about how Michigan State and Coach Smith wants to be viewed this year, it's not only, like you said, the box score or the wins and losses.
Yeah.
What aesthetically, it has to look a lot better at times. And offensively, when you talk about, okay, you throw the ball fine, you have a good completion percentage, some of the things that you want to see as a quarterback is not just aimlessly throwing it deep, because we've seen that with Penn State. Remember when James Franklin got into it with I guess he was a caller, a reporter.
Yep.
Why haven't you thrown the ball deep? Well, the next game, they just kept throwing 9 routes.
Yeah.
And it was just like, all right, we'll just take it, you know, chuck and duck. I think schematically, things have to open up to where he's in a position to where he has quick reads, but then also has explosive reads off of it to push the ball down the field, because I think it's going to be heavy run dose if they can get it going offensively.
You mentioned that style, Jay. I think if one way to tell Michigan State has that identity back, understands who it wants to be, is a couple road games that are going to be tests of that identity. Can you drag USC down into the mud with you for your opening conference game that comes on September 20th? And then road game against Indiana as well, right? No, Tino Sinceri's gone, as you mentioned, our UCLA segment there, Nick. But even UCLA at home, right? Face that offense, you know?
Yeah.
Can you drag them down into the mud with you again for this year until you get that talent to where you want it to be?
Well, I think it's going to really fall on how much improvement the defense is improved as a unit. In talent, sure. You know, obviously more experience in Rossi's system. How has he adjusted his system for this roster? I think he was very comfortable with the recruiting base that they had in talent at Minnesota, which obviously every year they were a top 10 team almost, or defensively, excuse me. And then so now what are you going to be able to do against the USC? You know, how do you get USC to play a game like you want? You don't give up explosive plays. You don't let them start fast. You know, that's attention to detail and motivation and mindset. Then when you think of Indiana, right? Indiana offensively will still be very good. They probably will not be as explosive as they were last year, not because of a talent, you know, discrepancy, more because you've seen what they do well, or what they did well and what they didn't do well through a whole season. And then more importantly, you saw the Notre Dame game for defensive coordinators. So that's a game that you feel like, okay, if we can turn them over and we can pound the football, then we're playing the game that you want to play. So they have to be able to establish the run and eliminate the explosive plays.
This is something we could talk about in the 10 o'clock, or excuse me, rather it'd be the noon segment back home in Lincoln. The 10 o'clock segment out here in Vegas is how important November is for a lot of these middle of the road Big Ten teams. Because a lot of these teams, like Michigan State's a great example, to where you start out with Western Michigan, Boston College, and Youngstown State. Okay, you're halfway to a bowl game. In your final 7, or in your final, what would that be, 9 games, how can you find 3 more wins to get to a bowl game? If you're Michigan State, in addition to it, like you say, Jay, all the time, in addition to the box score and just wins and losses, how does it look? I mean, you look at Michigan State's schedule, that November is Minnesota and Iowa on the road, home games against Penn State and Maryland. You're probably not going to get Penn State at home. You're not going to be able to beat them. So how can you win 2 of those other 3 games, 2 of those being on the road? Novembers are very important for teams like Nebraska, for teams like Michigan State, which we haven't really talked about in the grand scheme of it all in the Big Ten Conference.
That's a great place to go here at the top of the next hour. Nebraska, Michigan State in that conversation. Let's put our heads together. Think through some other teams in that conversation with Nebraska, with Michigan State, where November is typically the swing month of the season for them, or at least it could be coming up here in 2025. Austin Norman, Nick Sainer, Jay Foreman, DP, the crew with you out here in Vegas for a couple more hours. Big thanks again to Stevens & Smith Construction for helping make this trip possible. They are your concrete specialists in Lincoln since 1971. They're also in Omaha and Kansas City. You can learn more about Stevens & Smith Construction by visiting stevensandsmith.com. We'll be back to talk about an important November for how many teams in the Big Ten. Come back with us and find out.
This is Big Ten Media Days live from Las Vegas, presented by Advanced Medical Imaging, Stevens & Smith Construction, Currency, Warhorse Casino, Gary Michaels Clothiers, and League One Volleyball on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Saturday. Eagle Raceway is open for a full season of dirt track racing action every Saturday night. Don't miss the epic battles on the high banks of Eagle Raceway each Saturday between the Nebraska Septic Sprint Cars, Nebraska Lottery Modifieds, Avid Realty Sport Mods, Valentino's Hobby Stocks, and A1 Iron Stock Cars. Let's go racing. Eagle Raceway, just 10 miles east of Lincoln on O Street. Check out the full schedule at eagleraceway.com.
Get the baler you need without breaking the bank at Landmark Implement. Right now, qualified buyers can get 0% fixed for 36 months or stretch it out with a 2.9% fixed rate for 60 months on used John Deere 560M and R-Series round balers. Reliable, field-ready, and priced to move. Don't miss your chance to lock in serious savings before the next cutting rolls around. Visit your local Landmark Implement or head to landmarkimp.com today and experience the Landmark difference.
Mike, the insurance company wants us to replace the roof.
Wait, what? I thought everything was fine.
Yeah, it says right here our roof is too old and they won't be able to cover us anymore.
I guess it is 15 years old. Hi, I'm Austin with Roofing Service Company. We help homeowners with their roofing and siding projects. Financing options are available, and we can get you under a new roof no time at all. If this sounds like you, visit roofingservicecompany.com. That is roofingservicecompany.com.
Breaking here at the news desk. When you stack Allo Internet, DirecTV, and mobile, you can lock in your price for 2 years. Sources are confirming that when you stack Allo Internet, DirecTV, and mobile, your monthly price drops and you're locked in for 2 years. That's fiber fast internet, premium streaming TV, and reliable nationwide mobile coverage. And this just in, you must switch by Labor Day to secure that locked-in pricing for 2 years. Switch, stack, and save at allofiber.com/stack.
We interrupt this commercial break for an important story.
There once was a man from Nebraska who went searching for food in Alaska. When his stomach was rumbling while laying in bed, he could think of only one option, Führer's cheese spread. So he left it once and drove day and night to return back home for cheese spread delight. Now his stomach is full and the voice in his head tells him no more vacations without Führer's cheese spread. Find yours today at most local grocers.
Big box stores are tempting for buying equipment for your high schooler in sports or for yourself in your sports leisures. But buying new is awfully expensive. Why not go somewhere with new and used options? Play It Again Sports has quality, slightly to gently used equipment, and 50% of their inventory is actually new equipment. And it's more than baseball, softball, and golf. They also have equipment for disc golf, fitness, hockey, and more. Plus, they're always buying products. Bring your gear you're done with and get trade money on the spot. Play It Again Sports at 48th and Vine.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet, KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Schweizo Construction is now hiring for skilled craftsmen, steel erectors, concrete workers, and general laborers. Schweizo Construction offers great benefits like premium wages, health and dental insurance, paid holidays and vacation, 401k with company match, life insurance, and disability insurance. They pride themselves on a legacy of 40 years built on integrity and trust. Joining their team means becoming part of a family that values hard work, dedication, and mutual respect. Apply today at schweizo.com. That's schwisow.com.
I'm Karen Carr. I've been a realtor for 31 years. When I made a company change 12 years ago, I chose Lincoln First Realty, now NP Dodge. It's the oldest independently owned realty company in the country. Since becoming NP Dodge, we've continued our tradition of community involvement. Our management and staff are always available to offer support in marketing, technology, social media, and educational opportunities.
Expand your career with NP Dodge. Call Eric at 402-434-2222.
A1 Automotive's second location is now open at 5110 State Hill Drive, just off of Yankee Hill Road. The new location continues to specialize in all makes and models and provides personalized service as they have for 15 years. To honor the new store opening, A1 is offering $25 off any service over $300, $50 off services over $500, and $75 off services that total over $750, all through July 31st. Schedule your appointment today at a1autolincoln.com and visit their new location in South Lincoln at 5110 State Hill Drive.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Your Lincoln forecast for today, we'll see a chance of showers and storms, especially this afternoon. Otherwise, partly sunny skies expected with the high around 85. Tonight, a chance of showers and storms, the low around 70. Tomorrow, showers and thunderstorms likely throughout the day. An afternoon high near 81. I'm meteorologist Kyle Fletcher for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Rashawn Jackson here for Bauer Underground, who has been serving local contractors and utility contractors all across the state since 1997. When you see the black and white trucks, you know the baddest dudes in the business have arrived. Bauer is currently looking for equipment operators, laborers, diesel mechanics, and aerial linemen. Join the brotherhood built on hard work, authentic people, and pedigree of success. Bauer, a family-friendly company who reminds you, go Big Red!
Live from Mandalay Bay Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, Nevada, 93.7 The Ticket brings you coverage of the 2025 Big Ten Media Days.
7 yards deep. Lets it go to the sideline. Big six. Tommy Hill. The short run to the house.
Derek Pearson, Jay Foreman, Nick Sainer, and Austin Orman bring you exclusive interviews and in-depth conversations while getting you ready for the upcoming Big Ten football season.
This is a flip to Ja'Cory Barney. He waits for his block, and he steps in for the touchdown. This one in the seam, intercepted. Hartzog with a lane at the 20. Hartzog knocked out of bounds. Deep in Ohio State territory.
Mayava, that's intercepted. It is Sierra Wright down the sideline into his former house. Unbelievable.
Coverage from Big Ten Media Days is powered by Advanced Medical Imaging, Stevenson Smith Construction, Currency, Warhorse Casino, Gary Michaels Clothiers, and League One Volleyball. This is Big Ten Media Days live from Las Vegas on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
That it is Big Ten Media Days live from Las Vegas here on 93.7 The Ticket. Austin J, Nick DP out here with you in the Mandalay Bay Convention Center. This segment will be brought to you by Gary Michaels Clothier. Spring and summer inventory is now 20 to 50% off for selected items like suits, sports coats, dress and casual pants, dress shirts, and more. Gary Michaels also clothed all the Huskers here at Big Ten Media Days once again. You can find your new attire at 56th and Pine Lake in Lincoln. Nick, this topic is yours. I'm going to let you set it up, take it the direction you want it. In terms of the importance of November, we know about finishing strong for teams, important in a number of ways. But what's your angle? What do you think about November here?
Well, here's the thing. We can put a Nebraska spin on it and how brutal it's been for Nebraska in November. And sure, a lot of it matters on how the schedule lines up. If you're playing ranked teams on the road in November and things like that, weather plays a factor into this too. But I think it's hard to use the weather as an excuse because everybody's got to play in it, right? You're in the Big Ten Conference, a heavily Midwest and cold weather conference once that October calendar slate kind of starts up for you. And Jay, you might have a better idea on this, but let's just say this. Since 2021, and I get that it transcends regimes at Nebraska, and Matt Rule's all about, hey, don't talk about what I've done before, what happened before we got here, talk about what we've done currently. Okay, so Nebraska since 2021 is 2-15 in November. Nebraska since 2021
is sobering.
2-15 in the month of November. They haven't necessarily started out great, but you wonder, Nebraska's struggles. A lot of it's been kind of the Michigan State conversation. You look at the schedule and you hope that if you're a Spartans fan, that they can get 3 wins off the bat with the 3 teams that they play, including Boston College in there. And you look at the remaining 9 games and go, just need to find 3. Just need to find 3 more. November's a big piece of that. And the toughest thing for some of these teams to do, especially with inexperienced guys, is finish games and close down games when it matters most in November.
Well, it's from 2021, I guess let's say up until, Matt Rule got there. It's even before that. I think style of play probably was a big indicator that you got to run the ball and you got to stop the run. Obviously, Nebraska played in some close games, year in and year out. And a lot of that comes down to situational football, and you could dive into the details on, did you make a tackle on third down in the first quarter or second quarter and how it affects the game. But November is where championships are won. I mean, the first part of your season is essentially, no matter what the schedule changes are in conferences, it should be your preseason. You should be amping up and getting your winning juices flowing. And then obviously once you start conference play, you got to learn how to separate yourself. And so Nebraska is no different than Michigan State, no different than Iowa, and particularly, a team that potentially could make a sneaky good run, kind of like Illinois last year is Rutgers. Rutgers realistically has a path to be undefeated all the way up until October 18th at Oregon, home against Oregon. And then after that, they play at Purdue. So that's a win, or should be a win, or you project it to be a win. And then go on the road at Illinois starting November. You would like to think, when you look at the history of Illinois, okay, you remember a few years ago where they controlled their own destiny.
That's right.
And I don't know who it was that went to Illinois and literally just
What was that, Penn State?
No, it was I forget who went to Illinois when they had the control of the Big Ten West a few years ago and beat them at home. I think after a big victory, but that's a toss-up. You figure you beat Maryland at home if you're Rutgers.
It was so that year was 2022 with Illinois. They were 7-1.
Yeah.
And they had just come off of a road win at Nebraska. They won 26-9 on October 29th. They followed it up with a 23-15 home loss against Michigan State, and then a 31-24 home loss against Purdue.
And it was the Michigan State one was the worst because I think that was at or around the Mel Tucker stuff, right?
Gotcha.
And Michigan State just went on the road and just kind of just laid it all out there, and it was obviously an upset victory, and then they lose to Purdue. And then you think, back to November 15th, they get a bye week, so you're going to potentially with Greg Schiano after a bye week, being able to, create some points on special teams and defense playing at Ohio State. Obviously, the last time they were at Ohio State, the nose confrontation with Coach Day, where Greg Schiano was a coach at one point in time, to see if you can pull the ultimate upset, and then you get to come home against Penn State. So when you talk about November, it necessarily doesn't start actually at November 1st. It starts maybe prior to that to give you the momentum to finish November. Where a team like Rutgers, you have to make your November all the games to November 8th. That's your season. Mm-hmm. That's your season. Can you backdoor your way into I guess a New Year's Day bowl to be only one loss? I mean, obviously things have to go really, really well for them. But if they play to their capabilities in Greg Schiano's mind and in Rutgers' mind under the radar this year, they could be the surprise of the Big Ten this year.
That's a good point because, Austin, I mean, look at this. So we get this off the text line from David M. David says, to me, October is a huge measuring stick this year for the Huskers to beat the teams that they haven't been beating in the past. And I get that to a certain extent. I think it's most important. Okay, this is not, crazy analysis, but you look at Nebraska's schedule, and up until October 25th, you feel relatively confident in what Nebraska could do. Now, to David's point on the text line, sure, you need to beat the teams that you haven't been, but when you're a program like Nebraska that's been struggling the last couple of years, of course, right, you're going to need to beat teams that you haven't been able to beat in the past. But you look at the slate of conference games in November for Nebraska. It's USC on the road in back-to-back games. You have a bye-in between them against UCLA and then Penn State, and then you wrap up at home against Iowa. If you're sitting there after the October 20th, yeah, but if you're sitting there after the October 25th game against Northwestern and Nebraska's going, okay,
4-4.
We need to get 2 more wins to get bowl eligible. Things get a little dicey, and that's where Nebraska, to your point, Jay, has struggled at finishing and closing things out because the pressure's at its highest.
Yeah, I mean, teams are first of all, the reason why the pressure is the highest, they have a 3/4 of a season film. You've went through some adversity. You've either matched that, met that adversity, or you succumb to it.
Yeah.
Your tendencies are more readily available. Your player, each individual player, you can game plan and scout them to a higher magnitude. Really, Nebraska's season and schedule is. I'll just say I'll describe it as it's a race to November 8th. Mm. I know it rhymes though, but it is. Yeah. You don't have anybody on the schedule up to November 8th that you should think, nobody on the schedule that you get off the bus and be like, all right, we got to keep this close. But November 8th is huge because it's going to show 2 or 3 major things. One, it's going to show improvement, right? That's what you want to see, right? Mm-hmm. And tied into that, this is a maturity year, right? Our players, I guess, and our program mature enough to beat the teams that we should. And then a caveat to it, or a plus to that, is, are we beating them aesthetically not 100% pleasing, but I can see where it looks good, right? Low turnover ratio, good tackling, and maybe we're playing that game that where we kind of, when you talk about that, you mentioned that Rutgers against Michigan State game, 6 points in a quarter. Okay, we got 10. Okay, we got 3 in the third, and then we got 13 in the fourth. Next thing you know, it's a 3-score victory, and it doesn't look as aesthetically pleasing. Those are program building games that Nebraska needs to obviously do to the 3 major things, obviously before November 8th, before that first or second bye week.
When I look at Nebraska's schedule, I see 2 teams that Nebraska should beat, Akron and Houston Christian. Other than that, I think it's a bunch of games. I don't think they're going to be implied odds or favorites of more than 65-35. I really think that even Cincinnati, right, is going to be a game that's going to be played within a pretty tight margin. Michigan, we'll see. Michigan State, a worse Michigan State team with less to play for than Nebraska, contributed to those November woes in Matt Rule's first year. We know Maryland's going to be talented. Short week on the road at Minnesota. If you take it just on paper, that's a coin flip game, but I think the odds slant Minnesota's favor in that one. An extra day to prep for Northwestern, always pesky, always a thorn. USC has their own distinct style under Lincoln Riley. I would give them the edge in that one right now as well, but that's not to say Nebraska has no chance. And then that November 8th game against UCLA, like we've been talking about, there are so few should-win games. There are so many could-win games on Nebraska's schedule that it's going to be important for Husker fans. You can talk yourself into 8, 9, maybe 10 wins on the schedule if you really want to. But if Nebraska struggles to win those coin flip games, you're going to be right back in the same boat of sweating it out in November and, facing down, a trip to Happy Valley and then Iowa. You never want to leave your fate going to a bowl game or achieving a higher bowl game. You want it in your hands. But for fans, they would not be comfortable if Nebraska needs bowl eligibility yet with Iowa coming up. They'll feel confident. They'll want Nebraska to get it done. But I don't know how many of them would say they feel good about their chances.
Yeah, that's where you look at the maturity. Should win, sure. Akron and Houston Christian. I look at you should beat Cincinnati. There's no disrespect to anybody. You should beat Michigan State. You should beat Maryland. You should beat Northwestern. And you should beat UCLA. All the other ones I could describe it. You could lose if you don't handle your business. Obviously Michigan is at the forefront. If you don't handle your business against Cincinnati, you could lose that, and you could lose it against USC just because they have the talent and they have a schematically, I guess the way they scheme up their offense and the way they do things gives anybody a problem. But when you talk about a maturity year, that's the maturity, process that that the players need to be in. Like every game in the Big Ten is going to be tough. So when I say you should win, this isn't a game that should win doesn't mean every game's 34.
Take it to the bank at Circa.
Just a matter of going through the motions. These are games that you expect the maturity of the players to be able to step up and earn these games because number one, they've showed tangible progress last year, going 6-6. Probably not what they wanted, but they still went 6-6, 7-6 if you count the bowl game. So now the next step is the maturity of, okay, Cincinnati is a good team, but we're better. We're going to beat them. It might be tough, but we're still going to win. So
it's going to be tough. We assume it's going to be tough.
Yeah, and your first game is always the toughest, though. Mm-hmm. When you're playing, if you're playing Houston Christian the first game, no, it's not the toughest. You're playing against Cincinnati that's trying to bounce back. They have 2 really good players, one on offense, one defense, tight end and defensive tackle. So they have some talent, and they get to prepare for you all off season. They have 3 games to prepare off of this new look Husker offense and put forth their best effort. The first game, they're probably going to be the freshest. They're going to obviously be extremely motivated. They're going to be the most, I guess, coached up and scouted for you. So it's going to be tough, and it's no different than Ohio State against Texas, but you got to be able to push through because that's the maturity that you need because you'd like to double down and validate that with the extended layoff against Akron and then get into rhythm starting with Houston Christian and then hitting your peak week 4. You obviously Michigan.
Looking at November and July as a fool's errand, it would be slightly less of one come August, come September, and come October. But we just went over Nebraska's November slate. USC at UCLA, bye at Penn State, Iowa. Would you rather have that slate, or would you rather have Wisconsin with a bye week to start November, then host Washington, go to Indiana, host Illinois, go to Minnesota?
Well, I think that's easy. You don't have to go to Happy Valley. I think you'd rather have a bye at that start of that week.
So you'd rather have Wisconsin's November than Nebraska's?
Yeah, but I would rather have Nebraska's August through October than Wisconsin's.
Okay, Iowa then by the first week of November, host Oregon, go to USC, host Michigan State, go to Nebraska.
I'm good. Nope.
Okay, and then Minnesota, Michigan State, host Michigan State, bye week at Oregon,
like
at
Minnesota.
Northwestern, host Wisconsin.
I like Minnesota. I mean, that they have it set up. Again, this could be when you talk about, or PJ Fleck talking about, they were 1 or 2 plays, 1 or 2 games away from getting to college football playoffs. Their maturity starts before November, whereas it's same with Nebraska, but their maturity or their big step, if they want to make their big splash, I guess that's before November. They have to come out and have a little Indiana in them to get people's attention.
Then weather a little bit.
Here's the thing. Here's what I honestly think with Minnesota, and people are telling us that we're like praising the Minnesota Golden Gophers. I don't think people realize how good they've been. Like
consistent,
and it's
they've been consistent.
It's painful. It's painful because you sit there. Here's the thing, guys. Look at Minnesota's schedule: Buffalo, Northwestern State, Cal, probably 3-0. Right? Rutgers at home, win. Your first test comes October 4th at Ohio State. You mentioned the Indiana side of it. If they can keep that competitive, okay, you're 4-1. Then it's home games against Purdue and Nebraska back to back. That Nebraska game, man, that feels like the real one where it's okay. Is Nebraska better than Minnesota, or is Minnesota running the table? Because you're sitting there after October 17th saying one of those teams you feel like could only have one loss. Is it either going to be Nebraska or is it going to be Minnesota?
I think sometimes people get the misconception of showing them respect for the work that they've done and earned is praising them. Look, they've been a consistent program.
Yeah.
Now this is not all created equal. Obviously, it's schedule driven. In their magical season, they're 3 plays away from PJ Fleck no longer being there.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about it,
You're
most
right.
likely. So if they don't get those 3, first of all, I'll keep saying the linebacker that didn't drop in the flat and cover 3 saved PJ Fleck's job. Okay, then you go out to Fresno and you go into like an overtime game and win that late in overtime. And then you had the Georgia Southern game where they couldn't stop Georgia Southern, but they end up finishing that game. So they've been the king of opportunistic timing of wins, schedule as well, and then consistency. So that's when you have a coach. Now, granted, he's selling his program, and he's selling it based off of trying to create the preseason hype around his program, just on the assumption and hope that they have a really good year. But it's all based on the present schedule. But it's not an easy road. You think that Rutgers at Minnesota is going to be a cakewalk? You better buckle up. Okay, that's a statement win for Greg Schiano. Then you got to come back the next week and go on the road to Ohio State. Then you play Purdue, homecoming, right? You get Purdue on homecoming. That's great, right? And then you got Nebraska, right? So your iron is not, your knife's not going to be as sharp. And here comes Nebraska. If Nebraska's where they need to be, Minnesota is not in the picture.
You're absolutely right. This is where I think, once again, this isn't me once again glossing or glazing over Minnesota. Like, this is not what I'm trying to do. I think what it is, let's just switch the jerseys and talk about if Nebraska could be having the same things that if Matt Rule right now was able to hang his hat on what PJ Fleck is able to, we'd be thrilled as Husker followers and consumers. Because if Matt Rule was able to get up on that podium in 4 years and say, all right, the last 5 years we're 5-0 in bowl games. The last 5 years we've had over 8 or more wins. And in the last 5 years, we've had at least one or two guy or one draft pick in the first or second round.
Yeah,
if you're able to do that, any fan base is thrilled.
It's a little different because also with people, I guess, that are texting in need to understand the expectations that Nebraska, as far as their football program, is light years different than Minnesota. So what he's doing is astronomical based on the history of Minnesota. We're talking about the whole history of Minnesota. So he's taking it to heights that haven't been seen and has been consistent in consistency. But you also got to think the first few years is a byproduct of my man Jerry Kill.
You're right.
So you're a smart coach takes what another coach has done and set up before, and then obviously takes it to the level of consistency. And then he's able to weather some storms. You got to think he went 9-9, obviously 23, 6 and 7, and then had 8 and 5 last year when it didn't look like that team was an 8 and 5 team at times. He was able to muster up 8 victories. So then now you're kind of almost like, all right, we weathered a storm where we're maybe like a 6 or 7 win team, got 2 extra ones. Now we can talk bigger and better. But it's the difference that you don't have some of the players that they've had on the offensive line. When you get guys drafted, what he's saying, first and second round for the last 5 years, that hurts to
Absolutely.
go. It's a good problem.
Yes. Good problem to have, because I think Minnesota is another one of those schools in that old kind of Big Ten West pipeline that you give the benefit of the doubt to find the next offensive lineman.
Yeah, and they've done a good job, and I mean they have they have an identity of what they've been able to do, and you have a bunch of guys that don't want to leave Minnesota, and they can kind of just get and you go into Wisconsin and the borders and get those guys, and how PJ Fleck runs his offense or his identity is essentially try to wear you down, and obviously he has an idea. He's a former receiver. Okay. He used to, he was a former receiver. So he likes receivers that are very, very productive, that they bring up from a lower level or develop over time. And then they schematically run things that accentuates nothing but their positives.
Mm-hmm.
And over the last few years, they've been able to put receivers in the league. They haven't been able to produce as like they did in college, but he always has one or two guys. And then the big thing that people didn't really give or Minnesota credit for is Rossi. That was the reason.
Yeah.
That's the reason. The defensive coordinator and the athletes they've had on defense and the consistency they've had in developing in producing players, not only to play at a high level at the Big Ten, but nationally, not getting any credit, and so now Minnesota's they're no different than Nebraska. They're looking at their schedule and say, we can make some hay and we can make some noise. And that's what's going to be really interesting, is that everybody looks at the schedule and know what they can do, and they have the talent to do so. But more importantly, who's going to do it?
Let's go ahead and go to break. When we get back, we'll continue previewing day 3 of Big Ten Media Days. A few more teams left to talk about. I think we got to start having the Michigan conversation at some point before we get out of here. What does this year mean for Sharon Moore, Bryce Underwood, or expectations for him? Just how deep and talented is that Michigan roster? We should probably touch on Iowa at some point as well. We'll talk about those two teams coming up here during Big Ten Media Days. Big thanks, as always, to Gary Michaels Clothiers. Spring and summer inventory now 25 to 50% off selected items like suits, sport coats, dress and casual pants, dress shirts, and more. Gary Michaels Clothiers also clothes all Huskers here at Media Days once again. You can find your new attire with them at 56th and Pine Lake. More from Mandalay Bay next on The Ticket.
This is Big Ten Media Days live from Las Vegas, presented by Advanced Medical Imaging, Stevens & Smith Construction, Currency, Warhorse Casino, Gary Michaels Clothiers, and League One Volleyball on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
It's never too late to start protecting your company's data from cyber attacks. Your customers put their trust in you to keep their information safe from online threats. Don't let them down. Partner with Hamilton Business Technologies to get real-time threat monitoring, advanced security protocols, and experts who monitor it all for you. We care about the success of your business and the communities you serve. Hamilton Business Technologies. Real people, real technology solutions. Connect with us at hamiltonisbusiness.com.
We interrupt this commercial break for an important story.
There once was a man from Nebraska who went searching for food in Alaska. When his stomach was rumbling while laying in bed, he could think of only one option, Führer's cheese spread. So he left at once and drove day and night to return back home for cheese spread delight. Now his stomach is full and the voice in his head tells him no more vacations without Führer's cheese spread. Find yours today at most local grocers.
I'm Karen Carr. I've been a realtor for 31 years. When I made a company change 12 years ago, I chose Lincoln First Realty, now NP Dodge. It's the oldest independently owned realty company in the country. Since becoming NP Dodge, we've continued our tradition of community involvement. Our management and staff are always available to offer support in marketing, technology, social media, and educational opportunities.
Expand your career with NP Dodge. Call Eric at 402-434-2222.
Hey there, this is Paul Scheel, owner of High Electric. I want to thank our friends and loyal customers and introduce High Electric to those looking for a new electrician. We've been serving the Lincoln and Omaha area for over 30 years, from design to install, upgrades, and repair. If you are a homeowner or a small business needing some electrical work, call us at 402-466-6606 or check us out at hyelectric.com. We look forward to hearing from you.
Rashawn Jackson here for Bauer Underground, who has been serving local contractors and utility contractors all across the state since 1997. When you see the black and white trucks, you know the baddest dudes in the business have arrived. Bauer is currently looking for equipment operators, laborers, diesel mechanics, and aerial linemen. Join the brotherhood built on hard work, authentic people, and pedigree of success. Bauer, a family-friendly company who reminds you, go Big Red!
Summertime is here, and you know what that means. Grilling season. You know what's more embarrassing than an overcooked piece of meat? Your dirty, disgusting, and grimy grill. Let the pros at Husker Grill Cleaning get you ready for grilling season. They'll take your grill apart piece by piece, scrub every inch, and reassemble it so it can look and perform its best. Visit their website, huskergrillcleaning.com today to schedule your appointment. Husker Grill Cleaning, serving Lincoln, Omaha, Malcolm, and more.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC. This month kicks off Koppel's 50th anniversary sale. We're celebrating 50 years by offering an additional $500 discount to the next 100 customers that buy a new vehicle. This is in addition to the huge savings already in place. You can take an extra $500 off our discounted price, or we can cut you a check on the spot. Celebrate with savings and see why customers have trusted Koppel since 1975. It's our way of saying thank you for all these years.
Schweizo Construction is now hiring for skilled craftsmen, steel erectors, concrete workers, and general laborers. Schweizo Construction offers great benefits like premium wages, health and dental insurance, paid holidays and vacation, 401k with company match, life insurance, and disability insurance. They pride themselves on a legacy of 40 years built on integrity and trust. Joining their team means becoming part of a family that values hard work, dedication, and mutual respect. Apply today at schweizo.com. That's SCHWISOW.com.
Mike, I've been thinking our house could really use a makeover. How about new siding?
I've been thinking the same thing. Have you heard of James Hardy?
Yes. Sarah down the street had Roofing Service Company install James Hardy siding on their home, and they love it.
Roofing Service Company does have great reviews.
They took her through the design process and made everything super easy.
Roofing Service Company offers expert design and installation. Couple that with James Hardy's durable products and variety of colors, you and your family will love your exterior remodel. Just visit roofingservicecompany.com. That's roofingservicecompany.com.
Breaking here at the news desk. When you stack Allo Internet, DirecTV, and mobile, you can lock in your price for 2 years. Sources are confirming that when you stack Allo Internet, DirecTV, and mobile, your monthly price drops and you're locked in for 2 years. That's fiber fast internet, premium streaming TV, and reliable nationwide mobile coverage. And this just in, you must switch by Labor Day to secure that locked-in pricing for 2 years. Switch, stack, and save at allofiber.com/stack.
Welcome back to 93.7 The Ticket's coverage of Big Ten Media Days live from Las Vegas. Presented by Advanced Medical Imaging, Stevens & Smith Construction, Currency, Warhorse Casino, Gary Michaels Clothiers, and League One Volleyball on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We are back here to Mandalay Bay, about halfway through our Big Ten Media Days Day 3 coverage. Austin, Nick, and Jay on the air with you. This segment brought to you by Warhorse Casino. Download the Warhorse Casino app today and keep it handy every visit. Consider the Warhorse Casino app your lucky charm. Warhorse Casino, located in Southwest Lincoln. Let's keep it in the old Big Ten West, fellas. Let's talk some Iowa. Really the first time all week they've come up on these airwaves. They're here on Day 3. Kirk Ferentz will lead off at the podium here in about an hour in Las Vegas. A very Iowa year last year, 8-5 overall. It was an 8-4 regular season for the Hawkeyes. They lost the Music City Bowl in dramatic fashion to Missouri on the walk-off field goal. Defense took a bit of a step back. They allowed all the way up at 18 points per game for them. So better watch out for some revenge from the Hawkeyes there. And the offense ticked up a little bit, 27.7 points per game for them. The biggest stories of the offseason for them, a lot of offensive line continuity, but Caleb Johnson out, Mark Gronowski in. I think we can say pretty safely this will be another Iowa year, but maybe they might actually take another step on offense. I'm actually not counting it out with Gronowski. I think he's legit.
Yeah, I think finally, we've seen this with Wisconsin as well. Finally, they have a quarterback that's actually Big Ten legit and a pitch and catch quarterback. He's extremely productive at his previous stop, and he fits what Iowa needs. Obviously, with Coach Ferentz's son getting fired, and obviously that was a tumultuous into it. And then obviously Kurt Ferentz, not on the hot seat, but not on as steady ground as you normally like. Look, I mean, that Thanksgiving dinner after his son was let go was a lot different. So now you have a quarterback that can actually, play the position, that can allow your run game with Molden coming in, or Moulton, who was actually the explosive kind of yards per carry running back last year, to go opposite of what they had a record-setting running back. Obviously move on to the NFL. So I think it's a good fit for Iowa, a great fit for Iowa, as long as things operate well. The one thing Iowa will not do, they will not change their identity. You're not going to see 4 or 5 wides. What you're going to see from Iowa is a little bit more of an outside attack. Lachey is gone, the tight end, right? The numerous long lineage of tight end U is gone. But what is back with Iowa is the offensive line.
Three senior starters back.
3 senior starters, a really good senior, a young and upcoming next line of Iowa running back. So you're going to lean on the run game, but then also try to get that outside passing game going, because guess what that's going to do? It's going to make everybody like, oh, Iowa's not pass heavy, more explosive. Come November, then he's going to line up and just try to run you over.
Well, it's fascinating because you look at Iowa, and just to give you an idea, so Cade McNamara accounted for just over 1,000 passing yards last year and 6 touchdowns through the air.
More than I would have guessed, honestly.
You're bringing in a guy in Mark Gronowski who had over 3,000 total yards when you pass and rush combined, and 33 touchdowns accounted for him just by himself for South Dakota State. Just so much, just right off the rip, just so much more dynamic opportunity for a guy like Mark Gronowski and for this offense. Phil, like you said, they're going to do what they do. Yeah. They're not going to commit penalties. They're going to play strong defense. They're going to run the ball, and they're going to make a difference on special teams. Phil Parker still there, right? Still doing his thing for the Iowa Hawkeyes. I'm really fascinated because how do they blend? How does Kirk Ferentz blend the dynamic ability they have now at quarterback with the identity that is Iowa football?
That remains to be seen. I mean, year 2 in control of the offense for Tim Lester is going to be interesting to watch how that marries, right? Talk about scheme fit. Heard a lot about that over the last 5 years at Nebraska. What's a little different for Iowa, though, is not a lot of continuity on the defensive side of the ball. A lot of guys are gone, according to ESPN. Only 4 starters are returning on defense. And again, Iowa's one of those teams that you give the benefit of the doubt to, but it's just something to watch out for. I don't think Iowa's going to be a 30 points per game offense, but man, if you can consistently crack 20, 21 points on Iowa, no matter who you are, you feel like you've given yourself a decent chance to win that game.
Yeah, if you're scoring 20, 21 points against Iowa, you're definitely in the driver's seat. And more importantly, you got to make sure that they don't score 24 points. I think that's their goal, as far as coming in. Obviously, when they play against Albany and Massachusetts, they're going to try to obviously score as many points as possible. When they're in big games, in particular at Iowa State, their benchmark for their offense is going to be 21 to 24 points. They still listen. It's rinse and repeat with that defense. And when you look at Iowa, it starts and stops with Graves up front. He's one of the best defensive linemen, not only in the Big Ten, but then obviously in the nation. And then Xavier Nwakpa, who is a really good 6'2", 215-pound safety hybrid. He's the eraser after Hayes is gone.
Yeah.
And so they have everything they need. And it's just like you give the benefit of the doubt to Ohio State in the quarterback position, more important, and definitely in the wide receiver position, even though they have Jeremiah Smith. But say when he's gone, you're like, all right, he's at Ohio State. You're going to, you think, and you give the benefit of the doubt that Iowa's always going to play that cover 3 defense, cover 1, and be able to play defense and special teams like no other. Where Iowa can be dangerous, right, is if they are consistently scoring. I guess if they average, let's just say like 22.5 points, because
they averaged 27.5 last year. Now if you take out Illinois State, that was a 40.
It's not a stat. It's 20. I guess 22.5 points when you're playing against good teams. The game's over with Iowa. You're not gonna, because they play such a style. They drain the clock. They squeeze down the possessions, and then in the second half, they just play ball control, situational football. So if you're down by like 8 to 10, 8 or 9 points, or like 8 points, and then you might score, and then you go for 2 and you don't make it, game's over. Because they're just gonna, that's just the way they play. They've done this however many times throughout Kirk Ferentz's career, and when they are actually really, really going on offense, That's when you see them get into the Big Ten championship and they put up a banner in their football facility.
I mean, you look at this, and this is, I mean, you look at who they brought today to Big Ten Media Days, and it's very Iowa-esque, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. You bring in an offensive lineman in Logan Jones, who's a second-team preseason All-American, right, in the country. Ethan Herkett, a preseason all Big Ten selection as well. And then defensive back Cohen Ettinger, who has played in 30 games over 3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, that is who they've brought. They're old. They're going to get old. They're going to stay old, as you kind of always say, Jay. And that's very Iowa-esque to bring in two guys that are in the trenches, like you talked about, ball control, doing the little things correctly. And that's who you brought in a couple of offensive linemen and defensive guys.
It makes perfect sense for Iowa to head that direction. Logan Jones is very good. Nebraska's interior defensive line will have their hands full with him come the end of the year. Guys, off the top of your head, what do you think Iowa's record was in one-score games last year?
Well, they're 8-5, wasn't as good as usually, so probably 2-3.
Iowa played in 4 one-score games. They went 1-3 in those games. Wow. The one win, of course, the field goal win over Nebraska. They lost to Iowa State by 1 point, second game of the year. The road loss to UCLA on that Friday night was by a field goal at 20-17. And then the win over Nebraska to end the regular season with the field goal loss to Missouri at the end of the year. It's just funny to think about, Iowa not being so good in one-score games, just because we talk about that all the time from Nebraska, how unfortunate that it was that Nebraska was their one win. But this is just one of those things that, Iowa is not infallible in one-score games, right? They lose them just like everyone else. It's just hard for Husker fans to see that, just because of how many times the Huskers have suffered that same fate at their hands.
It's just a sense of you give them the benefit of the doubt. They've done this so long that if they have a down year, which leads to 8 wins, they're like, all right, that was just a down year for them. And, you almost look at it as a bigger deal because they had a record-setting running back in Caleb Johnson. Mm-hmm. Whereas you think that would play into them being, instead of 1-3, 3-1, because you're able to, dictate the time of possession and running the ball. On the flip side, 2 years ago, the Iowa offensive line, by their own estimation, was young and maybe one of the worst that they've had in. I mean, they were winning the Joe Moore Award. It seemed like year in and year out. Then it went to Michigan. Yeah. So those like building blocks are coming to fruition right now. They tried to go in the portal and gave Proctor $250,000 just to make a little appearance to uptick it. That's to let you know Iowa operated in desperation. Now you're getting the best, you're not the best, but one of the best offensive lines in the nation, one of the best defensive lines in the nation, and they feel like they're on top of their game because they finally have a quarterback. Yeah. In strategic, if you watched a little bit of Iowa's social media, they don't do much, right? But not everyone, but they showed a lot of plays of back shoulder fades. We used to call it the goalpost route, where they're running a couple out routes and then they bring in they throw it on the opposite goalpost, made famous by Drew Brees and the Saints. They're showing like, okay, we're going to try to be a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, but the problem is they don't have. Hopefully not listening. They don't have the talent on the outside. When you think of like their best receiver coming back average, 400 yards, their number one receiver. If you can get 650 out of a guy, that's
like 850, 900 somewhere else.
Right. That means you Air America, because they're expecting Moulton to be, your first year being the guy. I would probably say 1,200 yards.
They expect you next in line.
Yeah. Well, I mean, well over 1,000. Probably 1,100, 1,200 yards is good for him, considering that they're expecting the pass game to be that much better. It'd be interesting to see what they do at the tight end position, though, because that's the X factor of a very, at times, weak offense for Iowa.
Just another piece on Iowa before we go to break. 2 of the 3 guys that they're bringing to Big Ten Media Days today from Cedar Rapids. One's from Council Bluffs, one's from Cedar Rapids. 2 in-state guys. Yeah. It's just interesting to kind of think about how well they've recruited that area. Obviously, Caden Proctor is kind of the outlier in that one. He says that when people talk about Iowa athletes and athletes out of the state of Iowa, he doesn't want to be mentioned in the top realm of it. But that's what he said at SEC Media Days, at least.
But when you think about this real quick before we go to break, they recruit a certain type of kid because you don't really see their players when they do go in the portal. They usually stay or they go a little bit lower. So all the players that you see now, and obviously the 3 coming, they've been developed through the grind of Iowa. they recruit kind of Iowa players. They're heavy in Chicago and guys that are going to stay down for the 3 or 4 years that they're in college.
I'd be fascinated to go look at some of these recruiting profiles as well for like Cohen Ettinger. So I can pull it up real quickly here. I mean, he was Cohen Ettinger, the one player from Walled Lake, Michigan. He was the 18th player ranked out of the state of Michigan. You look at Ethan Herkett real quick, just to kind of make this this conversation go full circle here. Ethan Herkett, 3-star prospect. He was the 31st inside linebacker in the country, the 7th best player out of the state of Iowa. Logan Jones, obviously, just to follow this mold, you look at it, he was, how about this? So he was the 15th rated defensive tackle in the entire class coming out of high school in 2020. So, I mean, these are, you trust your scouting, you trust your recruiting evaluation, and there's a proven sauce that works.
And you trust your weight program, your speed and agility program, because guys and it's not something that you expect instant returns on. And you got to be okay with that. So I'm sure that's probably the biggest thing is, are you okay with going through the meat grinder? And then when you're ready to play, you're going to be ready to go. Because, I mean, heck, the guy that went first, Van Ness that went to Green Bay, he didn't even start.
Lucas Van Ness.
He didn't even start. And he went, top 10 or 15 in the NFL, and he's actually a pretty productive player. So it lets you know there is still a pecking order in college football, and it starts in Iowa City.
That it does. We will take our break, wrap up this hour from Mandalay Bay on the other side.
This is Big Ten Media Days live from Las Vegas, presented by Advanced Medical Imaging, Stevens & Smith Construction, Currency, Warhorse Casino, Gary Michaels Clothiers, and League One Volleyball on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
This is former Husker and NFL linebacker Jay Foreman. For years, I've suffered from degenerative problems in both of my ankles, but thanks to a thorough and thought-out plan provided by Advanced Medical Imaging, I was able to get my life back with the least amount of pain as possible. While working through multiple options, the team of physicians at Advanced Medical Imaging were there to answer any questions I had. If you're experiencing any pain at all and want to get your life back, go to amimaging.com or give them a call at 402-484-6677. Advanced Medical Imaging, located at 7601 Pioneers Boulevard.
A1 Automotive's second location is now open at 5110 State Hill Drive, just off of Yankee Hill Road. The new location continues to specialize in all makes and models and provides personalized service as they have for 15 years. To honor the new store opening, A1 is offering $25 off any service over $300, $50 off services over $500, and $75 off services that total over $750, all through July 31st. Schedule your appointment today at a1autolincoln.com and visit their new location in South Lincoln at 5110 State Hill Drive.
MHC isn't new, just a new name. Moe's Moving is now Moe's Home and Commercial. Whether moving across town or across the state, MHC Moving has you covered. Specializing in home, apartment, assisted, and independent living moves. MHC can also handle your commercial moves as well. There's never fees on trucks, stairs, elevators, long carry, and last-minute booking, and no trip or fuel charges. Also no upcharge on weekends, and they do offer payment plans through PayPal. Call MHC Moving today at 402-853-7167 or go to mhcmoving.com.
Are you ready for a new opportunity? Check out Sandhills Global. Join a dynamic team where your skills are valued and your career can soar. We offer full-time positions with a 4.5-day work week, competitive pay, excellent benefits, and a positive work environment. From IT and marketing to sales and finance, we're looking for talented individuals like you. Apply today at sandhills.jobs and take the first step towards an exciting future. That's sandhills.jobs. Don't wait, apply now.
Summertime is here, and you know what that means. Grilling season. You know what's more embarrassing than an overcooked piece of meat? Your dirty, disgusting, and grimy grill. Let the pros at Husker Grill Cleaning get you ready for grilling season. They'll take your grill apart piece by piece, scrub every inch, and reassemble it so it can look and perform its best. Visit their website, huskergrillcleaning.com today to schedule your appointment. Husker Grill Cleaning, serving Lincoln, Omaha, Malcolm, and more.
Are you looking to upgrade or improve the garage door on your home? This is Cameron Hall of Doors Plus. At Doors Plus, we guarantee to offer a wide selection of options from 5 leading garage door manufacturers as we deliver a free estimate, exact measurements, and rapid installation with a 3 to 5 week time frame. When you choose Doors Plus for your residential garage door needs, you'll work with our experienced technicians and be ensured that your new door seamlessly complements your home. Give us a call at 402-590-5800 or visit us online at doorsplusllc.com. Doors Plus, garage doors and more.
Hey there, this is Paul Scheel, owner of High Electric. I want to thank our friends and loyal customers and introduce High Electric to those looking for a new electrician. We've been serving the Lincoln and Omaha area for over 30 years, from design to install, upgrades, and repair. If you are a homeowner or a small business needing some electrical work, call us at 402-466-6606 or check us out at hyelectric.com. We look forward to hearing from you.
Breaking here at the news desk. When you stack Allo Internet, DirecTV, and mobile, you can lock in your price for 2 years. Sources are confirming that when you stack Allo Internet, DirecTV, and mobile, your monthly price drops and you're locked in for 2 years. That's fiber fast internet, premium streaming TV, and reliable nationwide mobile coverage. And this just in, you must switch by Labor Day to secure that locked-in pricing for 2 years. Switch, stack, and save at allofiber.com/stack.
Select Plumbing and Utility has been serving Lincoln and the surrounding area for 14 years, and they're not slowing down. Select Plumbing and Utility handles all your plumbing needs, from faucets and water heaters to full renovations, and they can even help with your heating and cooling needs. They're also Lincoln's underground experts, repairing and replacing broken underground water and sewer lines since day one. Contact Select Plumbing and Utility today at 402-560-6197, assuring excellence in every situation, opportunity, and challenge. That's 402-560-6197. Big box stores are tempting for buying equipment for your high schooler in sports or for yourself in your sports leisures. But buying new is awfully expensive. Why not go somewhere with new and used options? Play It Again Sports has quality, slightly to gently used equipment, and 50% of their inventory is actually new equipment. And it's more than baseball, softball, and golf. They also have equipment for disc golf, fitness, hockey, and more. Plus, they're always buying products. Bring your gear you're done with and get trade money on the spot. Play It Again Sports at 48th and Vine.
This July, Acres is celebrating the birth of our nation. The fireworks include the opportunity to save big with great pricing on our late model John Deere ag equipment. Plus, you can lock in interest rates as low as 1.9% on select used John Deere planters, tractors, sprayers, and combines. Red hot rates combined with our explosive discounts make July the perfect time to buy and save. Don't wait. These deals won't last long. Visit acres.com for all the details. That's AKRS.com. Restrictions apply. Offer July 31st, 2025. Subproof financing. Offer may change anytime without notice.
Welcome back to 93.7 The Ticket's coverage of Big Ten Media Days live from Las Vegas. Presented by Advanced Medical Imaging, Stevenson Smith Construction, Currency, Warhorse Casino, Gary Michaels Clothiers, and League One Volleyball on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Wrapping up another hour of coverage here from Big Ten Media Days at Day 3. Austin and Nick with you. Jay Foreman handling some business here for a second. Nick, let's wrap up our Iowa conversation briefly with a reminder to people that Mark Gronowski actually had an off-season shoulder surgery. He had to sit out of spring practice. Sounds like he's back, should be expected for fall camp and all that. We'll hear more from Kirk Ferentz. If you look at the rest of that room, Jackson Stratton is a guy that saw the field against Nebraska last year. He was the one that threw the pass that went for like 70-some yards late in that game. And then Hank Brown, an Auburn transfer. When you think about injuries to Iowa at the quarterback position, we know Spencer Petras was banged up towards the end of his career. Obviously, Cade McNamara came in with a bunch of promise and dealt with some injuries through his time. Hank Brown didn't see the field much at all for Auburn, had a couple starts for them. That's at least a high pedigree sort of guy, and Jackson Stratton kind of fits the mold of a big-bodied, not overly mobile kind of pocket-style passer for Iowa. You'll never say Iowa has the best quarterback room in the Big Ten, but I think, if Gronowski maybe hits a speed bump in rehab or takes a game or two to acclimate to the Power 5 level, Iowa at least has some options where it's not like everything's going to fall apart all at once.
Well, interestingly enough, I mean, don't you remember in the last couple of years where it's almost felt like whether it was Brendan Sullivan or guys that backed up Spencer Petras at times, it was like, man, it feels like sometimes their backup quarterback has more promise than their starting quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of been bizarre because Iowa's been able to attack the quarterback transfer portal a little bit. Not that Cade McNamara was a hot commodity coming out of Michigan.
Well, he shut that down pretty quick.
But don't forget that Cade McNamara helped Michigan win the Big Ten championship the year before he left for Iowa. You just knew that, okay, it's J.J. McCarthy's time in Ann Arbor moving forward. And that was a big reason why Cade entered the portal to begin with. But I just think that it's been kind of bizarre because now out of South Dakota State, you have Iowa go after Mark Gronowski, and it's like what's in the water at Iowa that these relatively successful college quarterback transfers are looking at the Iowa Hawkeyes and saying, yeah, you know what? I feel like I could have some success in Iowa City.
It's interesting to monitor that. And also I think as comparisons, right, how Iowa quarterbacks haven't put up numbers like Tanner Morgan did at Minnesota that one year, or even Nick like Illinois, because I think the selling point for programs like that, maybe Northwestern in that conversation as well, is on the one hand, you're telling your quarterback, we have a great support system for you. We're going to have a top 5, top 10, top 15, the worst offensive line in college football for you to throw behind. We're going to have a running game that we're going to lean heavily on. And so I think when we think about quarterbacks, you think about, they're chasing their stats. They want their numbers. Why would you ever go to Iowa? Well, no, I do think that what Kirk Ferentz does and Tim Lester, his second year as offensive coordinator, they can run things and get guys ready for the NFL because they're not asking them to do too much. They're trying to put them in positions to succeed. Except then you get to that other part of the conversation. I mean, tight end surrounding them as well, obviously an important part of the Iowa offense. But the other part of that is that how easy are they really making their quarterbacks' lives when they do have to throw the ball? What do they have at receiver? Always a guy or two that you think could put up some bigger numbers somewhere else. Maybe if Iowa committed to throwing the ball a little bit more, it just makes Iowa quarterbacks such a funky sort of evaluation from the outside because you think you know what these guys can do based from their previous stops. They're just never asked to do it to that degree, even like that 1 year at Minnesota for Tanner Morgan.
Yeah, and Tanner Morgan was one that I think people kind of misinterpreted at Minnesota at times. Now, that was also a Jerry Kill guy and Tracy Clays and that whole situation too. But you remember what Tanner Morgan had in the wide receiver room. And that's been also a situation to where Iowa hasn't been ultra successful. They had I go back to way back when like Marvin McNutt was their starting, their leading receiver. Remember Marvin McNutt at all? And there's been a couple of
that Ohio State guy that hasn't really popped for them.
That's right. Yeah. So it's been like over the course of time. This is where, whether it was, I mean, then they lost Keegan Johnson in the portal as well. But it's been kind of fascinating because when you look at Iowa in comparison to Minnesota or other schools that get transfer quarterbacks,
even Wisconsin,
they try to build around the guys a little bit. Now whether it's been the running backs have been good at Iowa and that's what their philosophy is, but you think that obviously quarterbacks and offensive linemen are going to be two of the higher paid positions in college football. And so you'd think that when you're investing money like this into a position and hoping that it takes you to the next level, I'm sure there's a part of you where you're like, okay, one of our necessities, one of our needs is to build around them. And they haven't done a great job in the perimeter passing game, at least. Tight ends they've been locked down. Running backs, they've been fine, right? But in the perimeter passing game, it's kind of been a shortcoming of Iowa.
NFL in most places build around. Seems like Iowa asks its quarterbacks to fit in.
Yeah,
make it work.
Which is really, really interesting considering their offense hasn't been dynamic enough to be able to say, yeah, let's just plug and play anybody to go in there.
But it seems like it'd be an easier plug and play offense when they're not being asked to do as much, which is a weird sort of contradiction.
But then maybe that's just where you look at Spencer Petras and he just wasn't a very good quarterback, and you look at Deacon Hill and he was just so immobile that he was kind of just a sitting duck back there. That when the very few times that the offensive line would falter, Deacon Hill's kind of just left to his own devices, which doesn't give him or Iowa the best chance to be successful on any given play.
Absolutely. I'm trying to scroll through a list here of starting quarterbacks under Kirk Ferentz. Ricky Stanzi.
Oh my gosh, I haven't thought about Ricky Stanzi in a long time.
Was he the one with McNutt? I think it would have been about the same time.
Was that Stanzi or would that have been
CJ
like
Beathard?
Beathard?
Maybe they crossed over. Trying to think here. Drew Tate, Nathan Stanley.
Okay, so hold on. I can tell you this. I mean, Marvin McNutt played. I can't believe we brought up Marvin McNutt on this show. And Marvin McNutt, 36 years old. I mean, we're talking.
He's 36 already.
We're talking 13.
What?
Okay, so Marvin McNutt played in. Is that right? 07, 08? Did I really bring up somebody
crazy.
from 07? Okay, so he was a freshman in 07.
Listed as a
quarterback.
Position switch guy.
That's right. So his last year would have been like 2012, I imagine. For Marvin, 2012 would have been Marvin McNutt's last year. The Iowa website's loading his statistics, but so I mean I guess that checks out. So
there's Jake Rudolph in there.
Yeah,
Michigan transfer, I believe, is what he was. Let's see. Let's just go by year here.
Okay, so here it is.
Nika Reganey,
wide receiver. Here it is. So the Iowa Hawkeyes starting quarterback in 2012 was James Vandenberg. His backups were Jake Rudock and CJ Beathard.
Oh my god!
So there you have it.
That's crazy.
That was what we.
That was a long.
Here's what's
time
interesting.
ago.
Here's an article from an Iowa site ranking the quarterbacks of Kirk Ferentz era. This comes back on 2016, and it says, "You're next, Nathan Stanley." But up to that point, the number one quarterback was Brad Banks, obviously.
Yep, probably still.
And then Ricky Stanzi, then Drew Tate, and then CJ Beathard.
Man.
Wow.
What a list. Also, I misspoke. Jake Rudock, not
Yes.
Jake Rudolph. So
Yes.
my apologies to Mr. Jake Rudock on that. Let's go to break. We'll be back with another hour of coverage here from Big Ten Media Days. Let's dive in to the Michigan Wolverines, break them down. We will do that when we return to Mandalay Bay.
This is Big Ten Media Days live from Las Vegas, presented by Advanced Medical Imaging, Stevens & Smith Construction, Currency, Warhorse Casino, Gary Michaels Clothiers, and League One Volleyball on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
It's never too late to start protecting your company's data from cyber attacks. Your customers put their trust in you to keep their information safe from online threats. Don't let them down. Partner with Hamilton Business Technologies to get real-time threat monitoring, advanced security protocols, and experts who monitor it all for you. We care about the success of your business and the communities you serve. Hamilton Business Technologies. Real people, real technology solutions. Connect with us at hamiltonisbusiness.com.
This just in, hot off the bench press. Planet Fitness has expanded strength equipment. Save $28 or more when you join today. We're raising the bar with these benches, and our hack squat will have you actually looking forward to leg day. Plus, we're still repping all the best-in-class equipment we've always had. There's no better time to get stronger. So join Planet Fitness today and save $28 or more. Just $1 down, $15 a month.
Find your nearest club and join today. Deal ends July 31st.
See Home Club for details.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC. This month kicks off Koppel's 50th anniversary sale. We're celebrating 50 years by offering an additional $500 discount to the next 100 customers that buy a new vehicle. This is in addition to the huge savings already in place. You can take an extra $500 off our discounted price, or we can cut you a check on the spot. Celebrate with savings and see why customers have trusted Koppel since 1975. It's our way of saying thank you for all these years.
Breaking here at the news desk. When you stack Allo Internet, DirecTV, and mobile, you can lock in your price for 2 years. Sources are confirming that when you stack Allo Internet, DirecTV, and mobile, your monthly price drops and you're locked in for 2 years. That's fiber fast internet, premium streaming TV, and reliable nationwide mobile coverage. And this just in, you must switch by Labor Day to secure that locked-in pricing for 2 years. Switch, stack, and save at allofiber.com/stack.
I'm Karen Carr. I've been a realtor for 31 years. When I made a company change 12 years ago, I chose Lincoln First Realty, now NP Dodge. It's the oldest independently owned realty company in the country. Since becoming NP Dodge, we've continued our tradition of community involvement. Our management and staff are always available to offer support in marketing, technology, social media, and educational opportunities.
Expand your career with NP Dodge. Call Eric at 434-2222.
The 2026 Love Omaha volleyball season is coming, and memberships are on sale now. Catch your favorite stars, Lexi Rodriguez, Jordan Larson, and more with a guaranteed 8 home matches right here in Nebraska. Season memberships start at just $112. That's unbeatable value for world-class volleyball. Don't miss a moment of the action. Go to lovb.com/season and grab yours today. That's lovb.com/season.
Don't miss the 8th Annual Wing Fest on Saturday, July 26th at Haymarket Park from 5 till 8 p.m. Local restaurants will be serving wings from 5 to 7 p.m. with live music going until 8. Ice cream and beverages will also be available for purchase, and all the proceeds from the event will go to benefit students in the local community. Get your tickets today at wingfestlincoln.com and make sure you attend the 8th Annual Wing Fest at Haymarket Park on July 26th. Summertime is here, and you know what that means. Grilling season. You know what's more embarrassing than an overcooked piece of meat? Your dirty, disgusting, and grimy grill. Let the pros at Husker Grill Cleaning get you ready for grilling season. They'll take your grill apart piece by piece, scrub every inch, and reassemble it so it can look and perform its best. Visit their website, huskergrillcleaning.com today to schedule your appointment. Husker Grill Cleaning, serving Lincoln, Omaha, Malcolm, and more.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet, KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Batter up! Join us this summer at Haymarket Park for 50 action-packed Salt Dogs games running now through August. Visit saltdogs.com for updates on everything you need to know about weekly promotions, giveaways, and special events. That's where you'll find the latest updates to make sure you catch all the excitement and never miss a homestand you want to attend. Haymarket Park is your ticket to fun all summer long. Visit saltdogs.com to get your tickets and unleash the fun.
There's a lot on the line in divorce. This is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell, the largest family law firm in the country, with over 35 years of helping clients navigate divorce. But being big doesn't mean less personal or less local. Our attorneys live and work in your community, and as neighbors, they understand the challenges your families face. Divorce is complicated. It affects every part of your life, your home, savings, retirement, and of course, kids. So when you find yourself facing divorce and the unexpected directions that it can take, it's times like this that you need a partner you can count on.
If you're a man facing divorce, contact Cordell & Cordell today to connect with a local divorce attorney who understands the challenges you're facing on a personal level. Text GO99 to 323232. GO99 to 323232. GO99 to 323232. 1221 N Street, Lincoln. Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textingterms.us. Texting enrolls you for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply, stop to opt out.
Chorizo Construction is now hiring for skilled craftsmen, steel erectors, concrete workers, and general laborers. Chorizo Construction offers great benefits like premium wages, health and dental insurance, paid holidays and vacation, 401k with company match, life insurance, and disability insurance. They pride themselves on a legacy of 40 years built on integrity and trust. Joining their team means becoming part of a family that values hard work, dedication, and mutual respect. Apply today at Chorizo.com. That's SCHWISOW.com.
When you were a kid, clubs were cool. Robotics club and space club and stuff like that. But what do adults get? Book clubs and quilting clubs? Nah, forget that. How about margarita clubs and old-fashioned clubs? Get to Upside Bar and Lounge for the best clubs in town. Try all 10 varieties of Upside margaritas or old fashions and take home a free souvenir glass. Grab the whole crew and pair it with taco night on Mondays or whiskey Wednesdays. Upside Bar and Lounge at 29th and Pine Lake.
Live from Mandalay Bay Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, Nevada, 93.7 The Ticket brings you coverage of the 2025 Big Ten Media Days.
7 yards deep. Lets it go to the sideline. Big six. Tommy Hill. The short run to the house.
Derek Pearson, Jay Foreman, Nick Sainer, and Austin Orman bring you exclusive interviews and in-depth conversations while getting you ready for the upcoming Big Ten football season.
This is a flip to Ja'Cory Barney. He waits for his block, and he steps in for the touchdown. This one in the seam, intercepted. Hartzog with a lane at the 20. Hartzog knocked out of bounds deep in Ohio State territory. Mayava, that's intercepted. It is Sierra Wright down the sideline into his former house. Unbelievable.
Coverage from Big Ten Media Days is powered by Advanced Medical Imaging, Stevenson Smith Construction, Currency, Warhorse Casino, Gary Michaels Clothiers, and League One Volleyball. This is Big Ten Media Days live from Las Vegas on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
The 11 o'clock hour is upon us here in Vegas. 1 o'clock back home. We are inching closer to hearing from Kirk Ferentz, leading off day 3 for the coaches here at the podium at Big Ten Media Days. Us, Norman, Nick Singer down there with you, DP and Jay hanging around as we start drawing closer to the end of our time here in Las Vegas. The world keeps spinning, though, outside of Sin City. We'll get you some Nebraska men's basketball news here in just a sec. But first, want to make sure we shout out Advanced Medical Imaging, one of the 6 wonderful partners and sponsors who made this trip possible. Advanced Medical Imaging is the largest radiology group in Nebraska, located in Lincoln at 7601 Pioneers Boulevard. AMI uses state-of-the-art technology, and they blend it together with a compassionate, skilled team. You can learn more at amimaging.com. Big recruiting news for Nebraska men's basketball in the 2026 class. This was tweeted out by Tipton at Tipton Edits on Twitter. Really good source of breaking recruiting news in the college basketball sphere. Colin Rice, a 2026 wing out of Waukee Northwest in Iowa, is in. He commits to Nebraska about 5 or 10 minutes ago. Nick, that's a big win for Nebraska. Number one, going across the river to get an Iowa guy. That's a borderline top 100 guy, solid 4-star though. Top 2, top 3 player in Iowa by a lot of rankings. At the small forward position, I mean, there's a lot of those dudes walking around college basketball. Yeah. Top 50 in that ranking. But, for Nebraska, I think this is a really good get. You'd like them to lock down Omaha, but you look at the Waukee Northwest connection. Mm-hmm. That's Price Sanford, the same high school. You look at Fred Hoiberg and Nate Lenzer both being from Iowa. And you think about the role that Colin Rice is going to play. I'm not as sold on Price Sanford on the ball as it seems like Nebraska men's basketball coaching staff is. I think his brother Peyton was better with the ball in his hands, more of a true guard. We'll see what Price can develop into. But I really think that even more so than a Braden Frager, Colin Rice is a guy that Nebraska will be able to maybe next year, probably not, maybe in 2027, say, hey, you're our perimeter scorer on the wing. Maybe not run point as much as like a Bryce Williams did or like Kendall Blue will. But I really think he is a legitimate scoring wing for Nebraska. And it's even sweeter that Nebraska beat out a few Big Ten teams in Illinois, Iowa, and Northwestern to get him.
That's what I was just going to say is it's a pretty impressive offer list for somebody that's in the heart of Big Ten country, right? Mm-hmm. Where he chooses Nebraska over Northwestern, Illinois, and Iowa. 2 of those 3 certainly have had more success over the last 5-10 years than the Huskers have. It's probably that Waukee connection like you talked about, obviously with Price Sanford. But I think one other thing is that every time Nebraska gets a high school commit, is it fair to say or compare him to a Nick Janowski? What's the difference as a scoring wing, I should say?
Yeah, so Janowski was more of a true guard. Yep. More maybe they were trying to make him into a little bit of a ball handler at the point position. I would have thought Janowski would have played the 2, whereas I think Rice a little longer, taller, skinnier. I think Janowski, I mean, you see him up close and personal. He was pretty built after a year in the Nebraska program as well. But I think similar in terms of those are guys that Nebraska envisioned having the ball on the perimeter quite a bit.
Because that's where I land. And as this isn't me trying to be a negative Nelly, but at the end of the day, Nebraska struggled to keep high school guys on the team and on the roster, the ones that are promising, right? Like obviously that's not to discount Braden Frager and those guys, but what I mean by is you bring in high school guys over the course of Fred Hoiberg's tenure, Nick Janowski being the most recent, where it's like, okay, you know what? Nebraska has this opportunity to redshirt these guys or at least play them in limited time. And then that following off season, they decide to move on from the program. And that's where I think if Nebraska can figure it out to where they're able to hold on to a guy like Colin Rice, which I think there's confidence in having that, right? Whatever the clear laid out plan is for Colin Rice, then hopefully in 2027, there is a true impact for the Waukee High School recruit.
It's about time Nebraska gets something out of a guy that it has in the program for multiple years. You even think about a guy like Jamarcus Lawrence, who they played pretty well for stretches and then transferred out of the program. Yeah, Nebraska got him back, but he still left. I think that all sides bear some blame on that point.
Sure.
Because no two situations for a young man transferring out of Nebraska men's basketball program are going to be the exact same. But if you think through, some of the names for Nebraska, first one that comes to mind for me is Kevin Cross. Way back in Fred Hoiberg's first year.
Had a really nice career at Tulane.
A really, really solid player. I mean, 3-time All-American Conference player, All-Conference Most Improved player in 21-22. Started all but 3 games in his time down there. That's a guy that you could see some promise in. You needed to work on the body a little bit.
Yeah.
But given the way that first year went at Nebraska, you can't blame Kevin Cross necessarily for leaving. But he's, I think, the departure that hurt the most in terms of a promising freshman. But Kevin Cross also saw the floor more than pretty much any other freshman since, right? Jamarcus Lawrence in that conversation, but then you think about Ramel Lloyd Jr. Never got on the floor for Nebraska. He transfers away. You think about Eli Rice, who got some spot minutes here and there. You could see the promise, really an under-the-radar kind of guy coming out of IMG, I think it was, in Nashville area as well. He saw some promise. He knew what the role was going to be coming into the year, and then it wasn't enough. It wasn't good enough for him at the end of the year. He goes to Penn State and honestly played even less at Penn State than he did at Nebraska, right? You think about Nick Janowski. That's a guy that when Fred Hoiberg said he talked about the possibility of yanking guys' red shirts, I would have thought it would have been Janowski as the more college-ready guy instead of Braden Frager, given how Nebraska struggled offensively, but Nebraska would have given the nod, it sounds like, to Braden Frager off the bench had they needed him. And we know that Nebraska is not the biggest money NIL program in the conference, which makes hitting on these high school guys that much more important. The fact that Nebraska has gotten so little out of them, it makes it that much more imperative to go into the transfer portal. And Nebraska's got, honestly, a pretty good mix of kind of those under-the-radar guys that they have some decent offers, like, okay, yeah, we can see the outline for it, and Nebraska's taking the chance on, and maybe Nebraska's the best offer. You can't blame Fred Hoiberg for not playing these guys if you don't think he's ready. I mean, back-to-back 20-win seasons speak for themselves. But that leads me to wonder if there's some sort of disconnect from the message when these guys are getting recruited at Nebraska. What is it that changes from when they commit to Nebraska to when they enter the transfer portal? What about the vision? What about how that is articulated changes so much that so consistently we see these guys decide to say, yeah, you know what? I really believed in the vision when I was coming into college, but after just 1 year in Nebraska's program, sorry, had enough. I'm going somewhere else.
What's really fascinating is I don't know if the vision changes. I think it's easy to buy into something when you're not in the middle of it, right?
Fair.
Where you sit there and go, oh yeah, I'll be fine. I'm perfectly fine sitting out a year. I'm perfectly fine developing and fully trusting into this plan that they have set for me. But then I think when you have the waiting game is really, really difficult nowadays for a lot of these guys. I think also then on top of that, when Nebraska, especially early in Fred Hoiberg's career as a head coach at Nebraska, wasn't having a lot of success, I'm sure that as an 18-year-old, you look at that and go, man, I could be helping these guys out. We're a really bad team. Why aren't I playing, right? Why aren't I given the chance? So I think there's this blend of the waiting game is really difficult, and then when things don't go as planned. But also I think plans might have a way of going awry too, right? Where visions change. Here, where also I'll go back to Nebraska's in a spot now because of the recent success. And because Nebraska's actually hit on some transfers, right? Whether that's Juwan, whether that's Bryce, whether that's Rink Mass, they've hit, even going back to Derek Walker, the hit rate over the last 3 years, it's not a coincidence that they've been more successful at identifying the right guys, the right fits in terms of transfers that will help them win games. It's not a coincidence.
No,
but then same to be said for early in the tenure, where it's not a coincidence that they missed on a lot of guys, whether they were transfers or high school additions, and it resulted in very few wins, right? Because it just never felt like they meshed well, or it never felt like they really knew what they wanted to be.
Absolutely. I think that's a fantastic point. I'll also throw this out there as we kind of combine the discussion on the transfer portal and high school recruiting. there has been a handful of guys who have made a noticeable jump in their second year in the program under Fred Hoiberg, right? You think about Delano Banton as a guy that had to sit out a year and then was pretty solid, right? You think about Derek Walker having to sit out a year, and then the second year he's playing, he takes a big step forward. You think about, Bryce Williams going from an important piece of Nebraska's team to an all-conference guy in his second year. Juwan Gary got injured his first year at Nebraska. Then he was a key contributor for the Huskers as they make their run to the NCAA tournament. Even Keisei Tominaga, right, is a JUCO transfer. He's just a small shooter, just park him in the corner. He'll be an interesting kind of bit player to what he was able to do by the end of his Nebraska career. And I hope that Fred Hoiberg is preaching that to these guys too. I know it's hard to wait. We think you could help us as well, but you have to trust us that you trusted us before. Please tell us what's changed, why you wouldn't trust us again, or what's changed for you, because we can show you this track record of sitting here with guys, giving them a year in our lab to work on their shot, to work on their body, to be more confident on the court. And then when it is their first year on the court, or even their second year, if they get on the court sparingly, the jump that so many guys have taken in that second year under Fred Hoiberg, I wish more high school guys, for Fred's sake, would see that year two jump and be willing to be patient and wait it out.
Well, and then on that point, let's look at what Nebraska, those guys will have some decisions to make in the very near future. I mean, you're talking Colin Rice will be one of them. Leo Curtis, who's a 2025 guy. Even somebody like that's where it's disappointing for a guy like Eli Rice, right? Because there's going to be a lot of these guys in the very near future, in the very next couple of years, that will have that decision, and will have to kind of go back and forth of, all right, do I want to stick this out, or do I want to try it somewhere else? And that's where the future of Nebraska basketball can kind of rest on these shoulders, because if Nebraska can stop and have the luxury of really developing and bringing guys up through the system, then it's going to, number one, take pressure off of Fred and the rest of the staff to have to identify so many pieces out of the portal.
So many pieces every year, and that's where, as you look about building a program too, Nick, when you look at this Nebraska team, you see a bunch of guys at different spots in their college journeys.
Yeah.
I wonder if it could be a strategy for Nebraska moving forward to, I know part of the transfer portal is to get old and stay old, right? Bring in experienced pieces that have played some college basketball. But if you want to keep Colin Rice around, make sure you get him a roommate that he likes, that you think can be around and grow with him for 2 or 3 years in that Nebraska program, right? Like Bryce and Juwan. I mean, I saw it up close and personal right here in Las Vegas back in April, just how close those two guys got to each other, having been through the grind together for a couple years. I mean, having guys your age at a similar spot in life, I mean, not just, in that lumped in general college demographic, and not just necessarily same by eligibility, but dudes that get along with each other, dudes that are going to learn and grow in the system. And basketball has smaller recruiting classes by nature, just with the roster size, right? With 15 in the new house settlement is where teams are capped at. It's not like you can bring in 20, 25 guys like you can in football. But Nebraska's consistently been a 1, maybe 2, sometimes 3 player high school recruiting class. And then if you're the one, you're all alone in your spot, unless Nebraska takes a random flyer on a younger guy to the transfer portal that they really, haven't done before. If you're one of 2 guys in the recruiting class, well, what if you've met him a couple times? Yeah, he's okay, but I got buddies back home that want me to come back and play with them.
Yeah,
that's going to be more of a pull. I'm not saying Nebraska has to go out and always sign 3, 4, 5, 6 member high school recruiting classes. I don't think Fred Hoiberg is interested in that. I don't think his staff tends that way. I think they do tend to prefer the transfer portal for that plug and play experience. But I do think there would be some merit in team building to make sure that when you have a prized recruit like a Nick Janowski, make sure you got another guy in the class or on the team that's going to grow with him. Same for Colin Rice moving forward.
It's so fascinating because you look at the makeup and the roster construction of Nebraska's current situation. 5 guys are from high school, started as walk and have found roles. Or 2 of those 3 have now found roles, and that's Cale Jacobson and Sam Hoiberg, right?
I would say one's found a role. Sam has. Cale, we'll see. He did at the end of last year.
Yeah, at the end of last year. He was
see
that
if he finds
filler,
it again.
He was that filler at the end of the first half.
Yeah.
Like, there was a defined – I wasn't saying significant role,
Sure,
but there was a defined – you knew what Cale Jacobson was doing out there and stuff like that. But the other one's Braden Frager, yet to see what that looks like this year. The other one is Quentin Rhymes, is a true freshman, and then the other one is Henry Burt, who is sitting on the bench, and that's fine. But there's a lot of just when we talk about uncertainty with some of the guys that are stepping up in football. We can have the same conversation about basketball. Like, we haven't had an offseason conversation yet about Berkay. Like, what does Berkay need to do going forward to really find a role on this team? Because they bring in guys like, I'm going to mess up his name, from Central Michigan.
They call him Oogie. Just call him Oogie.
Thank you, Oogie. You obviously have Oogie coming in from Central Michigan as a 6'11" senior. Bryce Sanford, is going to be out there. Connor Sejan's going to be involved. Kendall Blue's going to be involved. I mean, quickly, you can find 5 names that can hold over some floor time, some significant floor time, without saying some guys that even saw significant playing time last year.
And I think that that's going to be something that Nebraska will have to piece through early on throughout the non-conference. Not the most brutal grind, but enough challenging games in there. Fred Hoiberg mentioned that at his offseason media availability. He says he likes his roster. He thinks it's one of the deepest teams he's had at Nebraska. It's going to be hard finding time for guys to play. But I don't think that Nebraska is so set into stone where it's you have 2 guys at this position, 2 guys at this position, 2 guys at this position on through the 5. Nebraska, I do agree, has depth, and they'll be able to mix and match a little bit. Because I think Rink and Oogie can play together. I don't think that's where Nebraska would be at its best.
Yeah,
I think Rink and Berkay playing together helps Berkay take that next step forward, where Berkay can be the true 4, not asked to do what Rink Mast was asked to do. So Rink, as the older European player, can take some pressure off his shoulder there. You can mix and match with a bunch of guards who have similar skill sets, but they don't overlap perfectly. So I do think that, there are a bunch of guys that will need to see the floor, and that's where we go back to the term that Jay's brought up a few times here in role definition. Who's your lead dog, and especially late in games? Nebraska basketball played a lot of tight games in the last 8 minutes last year. Who's your go-to guy now that Bryce Williams is gone? We know Juwan Gary wasn't afraid to take a shot. My head goes first to, I didn't mean that disrespectfully, right? But Juwan would cast if he got it, and I think, that was what he was asked to do, just given lack of other options on the team at too many points in time. I don't know about you, Nick. My mind would first go to Rink Mast being that go-to guy that you want to take a shot. But I also think that Rink Mast is more the guy you want the ball in his hands. I don't know if you want him taking the shot. You want him to make him the right play. Jamarcus Lawrence breakdown ability. Maybe Kendall Blue can go get his own. And obviously you could throw a Sejan in there just because, he can put the ball in the basket a little bit.
Yeah, well, Rink, I think it just goes back into when Nebraska basketball is at their best, it's when they work through an athletic big. And whether that was Derek Walker, whether that is even Josiah Alec at times, but especially Rink Mast. And we saw the contrast from 2023 to 2024. We saw the vast contrast in what it was like working through an athletic big and a big that can handle the ball a little bit better.
On our starter Heyman Jewelers text line, Byron the Hog Farmer says, going to be hard to keep Curtis and Rhymes off the court too, it sounds like. Well, I haven't found reason to get freshmen on the floor yet. And I do think that Leo Curtis is tearing it up, obviously at Eurobasket for the U19 team for Iceland. He's got to fill out a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, I don't want Nebraska to go so far into, Curtis has got to fill out if that's the excuse to keep him off the floor, because he's supposed to be an athletic rim running stretch big man. You have to leverage your strength, know that you might give up some points on the interior, but if he can make up for it by being switchable on the perimeter, handling and maybe knocking down a 3 here and there, don't take that strength away from him to make him something he's not.
And as we go to break and get back to Big Ten Media Day stuff, the other part, as we get to break here, Leo Curtis also, think about how we started this conversation with the lack or the inability to keep guys on the roster if they don't get opportunities early in their career. That's somebody that I know Fred Hoiberg and staff would love to have for the next couple of years. So there's also, you have to balance the opportunities, even if they're not necessarily ready. And they're, like you said, with Nebraska's non-con opportunities and slate, maybe there's an avenue and a pathway for Leo Curtis to get a little bit of playing time.
He's been exciting in the offseason for Husker fans. You can't throw a guy out there if he's not ready. You don't want to play him just to keep him.
But the other part is then you have to balance that because there's no redshirt rule, right? Like there's no hey, play in 10 games or fewer for college basketball opportunities, which is a very interesting conversation to have as well in the future.
Oh, it's completely dumb. It's not been talked about enough. I mean, if we did the same rules in football and basketball, you could play 10 basketball games and still have your red shirt. That'd be a 4 out of 12 and 10 out of 31 or 32. I mean, I'd even be okay with 5 or 6 games, for a guy to keep a red shirt where it's less action than football overall. But or lower percentage, but still a higher number of games. So, yeah, we probably should get back to football. You're right. Promise you we talk Michigan. Let's preview the Wolverines when we get back here to Mandalay Bay. Nick and Austin with you.
This is Big Ten Media Days live from Las Vegas, presented by Advanced Medical Imaging, Stevens & Smith Construction, Currency, Warhorse Casino, Gary Michaels Clothiers, and League One Volleyball on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Are you ready for a new opportunity? Check out Sandhills Global. Join a dynamic team where your skills are valued and your career can soar. We offer full-time positions with a 4.5-day work week, competitive pay, excellent benefits, and a positive work environment. From IT and marketing to sales and finance, we're looking for talented individuals like you. Apply today at sandhills.jobs and take the first step towards an exciting future. That's sandhills.jobs. Don't wait. Apply now.
There's a lot on the line in divorce. This is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell, the largest family law firm in the country, with over 35 years of helping clients navigate divorce. But being big doesn't mean less personal or less local. Our attorneys live and work in your community, and as neighbors, they understand the challenges your families face. Divorce is complicated. It affects every part of your life, your home, savings, retirement, and of course, kids. So when you find yourself facing divorce and the unexpected directions that it can take, it's times like this that you need a partner you can count on.
If you're a man facing divorce, contact Cordell & Cordell today to connect with a local divorce attorney who understands the challenges you're facing on a personal level. Text GO99 to 32 32 32. GO99 to 32 32 32. GO99 to 32 32 32. 1221 N Street, Lincoln. Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textingterms.us. Texting enrolls you for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply, stop to opt out.
Prashawn Jackson here for Bauer Underground, who has been serving local contractors and utility contractors all across the state since 1997. When you see the black and white trucks, you know the baddest dudes in the business have arrived. Bauer is currently looking for equipment operators, laborers, diesel mechanics, and aerial linemen. Join the brotherhood built on hard work, authentic people, and pedigree of success. Bauer, a family-friendly company who reminds you, go Big Red!
MHC isn't new, just a new name. Moe's Moving is now Moe's Home and Commercial. Whether moving across town or across the state, MHC Moving has you covered, specializing in home, apartments, assisted, and independent living moves. MHC can also handle your commercial moves as well. There's never fees on trucks, stairs, elevators, long carry, and last-minute booking, and no trip or fuel charges. Also, no upcharge on weekends, and they do offer payment plans through PayPal. Call MHC Moving today at 402-853-7167 or go to mhcmoving.com.
Rain, snow, or shine, John Henry's is here to keep your home's plumbing systems working properly no matter what kind of weather Nebraska throws at us. From unclogging toilets and drains to installing new water heaters and water treatment systems, John Henry's is your plumbing expert in the Lincoln and Omaha communities. Visit us at calljh.com or call John Henry's.
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating and Air,
and Electrical.
Don't miss the 8th Annual Wing Fest on Saturday, July 26th at Haymarket Park from 5 till 8 p.m. Local restaurants will be serving wings from 5 to 7 p.m. with live music going until 8. Ice cream and beverages will also be available for purchase, and all the proceeds from the event will go to benefit students in the local community. Get your tickets today at wingfestlincoln.com and make sure you attend the 8th Annual Wingfest at Haymarket Park on July 26th.
Hey there, this is Paul Scheel, owner of High Electric. I want to thank our friends and loyal customers and introduce High Electric to those looking for a new electrician. We've been serving the Lincoln and Omaha area for over 30 years, from design to install, upgrades, and repair. If you are a homeowner or a small business needing some electrical work, call us at 402-466-6606 or check us out at hyelectric.com. We look forward to hearing from you.
Select Plumbing and Utility has been serving Lincoln and the surrounding area for 14 years, and they're not slowing down. Select Plumbing and Utility handles all your plumbing needs, from faucets and water heaters to full renovations, and they can even help with your heating and cooling needs. They're also Lincoln's underground experts, repairing and replacing broken underground water and sewer lines since day one. Contact Select Plumbing and Utility today at 402-560-6197, assuring excellence in every situation, opportunity, and challenge.
Dodge. That's 402-560-6197.
Advanced Medical Imaging is the largest radiology group in Nebraska, located in Lincoln at 7601 Pioneers Boulevard. At Advanced Medical Imaging, they utilize state-of-the-art technology and blend it together with their compassionate, skilled team to guide you through every step. Whether it's an MRI, CT scan, or X-ray, their precise diagnostics help your doctor deliver the best care plan for you. Choose clarity and comfort in your life by choosing Advanced Medical Imaging, located at 7601 Pioneers Boulevard and online at amimaging.com.
When opportunity knocks, you don't want to miss the call. Hamilton Business Technologies makes communication easy and efficient using customized technology, all while putting people first. Whether you're working from the office, at home, or on the go, Hamilton Business Technologies equips your business with the right tools for smooth, professional call handling. Hamilton Business Technologies. Real people, real technology solutions. Learn more at hamiltonisbusiness.com.
Welcome back to 93.7 The Ticket's coverage of Big Ten Media Days live from Las Vegas. Presented by Advanced Medical Imaging, Stevens and Smith Construction, Currency, Warhorse Casino, Gary Michaels Clothiers, and League One Volleyball on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, we are back from basketball conversation and talk some football here at Big Ten Media Days in Las Vegas. Austin Zachary joined by Jay Foreman. This segment brought to you by League One Volleyball Omaha. Renew your season tickets for last year's league runner-up at lovboma.com. You'll be able to watch Olympians like Jordan Larson, various national champs, and former Huskers all take the court for Love Volleyball Omaha. Let's get into the Michigan Wolverines. Talk about them. Head coach Sharon Moore speaking today in day 3 here at Big Ten Media Days. Jay, I'll start with you on this side of things. Michigan brings back 65% of its production according to ESPN, 65% on offense and 64% on defense. Obviously some major star power gone on the defensive side of things, but bringing back 65% of the snaps on the offensive side of the ball first. Not a very good offense last year, only averaged 22 points per game. But if you're Sharon Moore, you spin that as, hey, we got quite a bit back. These guys have learned and grown together. We'll be better.
Yeah, more importantly, they were, able to make some hay last year. And you really focus on, that last quarter of the season, and particularly, the upset victory against Ohio State, and more obviously the validation against, a game Alabama team in the bowl game. And it was live on stage, right? And they were definitely not the favorite going into the game. And so when you're trying to break in a all everything quarterback, you got to say, okay, what's his best tangible assets that's been here before? And you go to the tight end position, even though Loveland is in Chicago. But is he in Indy or he's in Chicago, right?
Loveland went to Chicago.
Yeah, Loveland went to Chicago. I know that was a big deal. But Klein was a factor and will be a factor right in the lineage of the emergency, outlet for, assuming Underwood starting at quarterback.
Him or Mikey Keene, Fresno State transfer.
Yeah, so, either or, but Klein has been in the system, and that's a guy that you're going to try to lean on, and obviously they're going to lean on the running attack and that offensive line that shows some improvement, and then try to make sure or hopeful that the transfer portal wide receivers do well. So, it's got to be positive, considering that your head coach is going to miss some games. It's like almost like that might be the good omen. Harbaugh misses 3 games his national championship year. Sharon's going to miss 2 games this year, and it's 2 after they get started. It's like, all right, national championship.
Jay, is that something you can get somewhat accustomed to? Not that your coach is missing games, but just that it never feels like 100% normal.
Maybe the chaos of the season is actually the relief.
Like they just know how to operate when things aren't 100% as planned.
Yeah, I think you can use it as a feather in your hat that we can deal with adversity. Now they'll keep telling them, so they there was nothing there. There was a lot there.
Yeah.
Now that's what side of the fence you're on, but I think you can use it as a team chemistry tool, a culture tool that we can deal with anything and everything. And we've built this thing to withstand any type of storm. And then when we do get our leader back, which is your head coach, watch out. And so that's what everything that they're probably focusing on is the 65% on both that are coming back, the additions that they make. And they've always seemed to do really well in identifying, and they can do that now, right? Because they have a bigger base that they're starting with in the transfer portal, whether it's guys that start immediately or guys like we'll eventually talk about Ernest Hausman, who they bring in and they groom after he got his Mr. T starter kit at Nebraska.
We'll get to the defense here in just a sec, but still on the Michigan offense, a big letdown for them last year was Donovan Edwards didn't take that next step.
Yeah.
Right? You think about Blake Corum being the lead guy for a couple of years, and then he leaves, goes off to the NFL. Donovan Edwards, it's your turn. I mean, he still averaged 4.5 yards per carry. Didn't even break 600 yards, though, 4 touchdowns. Kalel Mullings, though, really took over, really burst onto the scene. He was just shy of 1,000 yards on the season, but he was up over 5.1 yards per attempt, 12 touchdowns for him, but not a 100-yard rusher per game in the mix for Michigan. And as a team, 37 carries per game for shy of 160 yards, only averaged 4.2 yards per carry as a team. For a team built like Michigan was, with Alex Orji, the original starting quarterback, a power run type of guy, not quite as able to throw the ball. For Michigan to go still try to lean into that run first identity, but not have some of those weapons on the outside, have a hard time getting it to level in 2. You saw what Michigan was trying to do, but man, the lack of consistency throwing the ball really held them back and probably depressed the run stats some too.
Jay, was that Donovan Edwards situation a byproduct of Blake Corum not being there anymore?
Yeah, I mean, Blake Corum, he's the bell cow, and obviously Donovan Edwards was, at times looked like the 1B to Blake Corum's 1A. Now, look, they all lost offensive linemen there as well.
They did.
And you lose a first-round quarterback. I think you lose a third-round receiver and maybe a 5th to 7th round opposite receiver. So you lost a lot off that national champ. And people don't understand, it's not just the guys that you lose as far as production. It's the practice reps. It's development. It's the continuity. And so when you're breaking in a quarterback like Orji, who was, at his best, limited in the passing game, and he was actually a byproduct of McCarthy, where when he came in, it was really set up for success for him. You know what I mean? Where you could dictate the coverage, the run option. After Michigan had just been blowing through people in the conventional run game, here comes a defensive end size quarterback. And so I think it was a growing process. And then obviously they had a little bit of injury bug, but he didn't take this step, and I think that affected the run game. Where Edwards got jettisoned into, thought that you were going to replay with Blake Corum, and Blake Corum had been doing this for 3 years, and so now you're expected to do the same. And it was probably not his best. He did, he looked a little heavy,
because he was the lightning to Corum's.
He was a pass catching guy.
Right.
He was kind of like the you're right.
He was their 4th leading receiver in that national championship year, 30 catches that year.
Yeah, and they were explosive ones. You remember the year before, obviously last year, the big catch that he had against Ohio State up the right sideline. Actually, I think I'm watching. And he seemed like to take the next step. I think he might have maybe hit the weight room too much and tried to be that more Blake Corum, but he should have just kept in to what he was saying what he was.
And there might have been some Tony Pollard going on there too, because I looked back at those stats. Obviously, we just mentioned the 30 catches for 249 yards. But Donovan Edwards only averaged 4.2 yards per carry. And I say only because you think about how good that Michigan run game was. As a team, they averaged 4.5 yards per carry, 37.5 carries per game, 170 yards. But Donovan Edwards actually averaged more yards per carry.
Yeah.
This last year than he did 2 years ago on similar-ish volume. But how about this? Blake Corum led the Big Ten in rushing attempts with 258 for 1,245 yards, so 4.8 yards per pop. 27 touchdowns on the ground for Blake Corum. I forgot just how heavy a split that was. I mean, Donovan Edwards got basically 1/3 of the rushes, and Blake Corum got 2/3.
Yeah, and Blake Corum was healthy, and he got in the rhythm. And he was out. They were out to, he was the guy, and then rightfully so, and he was very productive. And obviously that was part of Michigan's game plan: get down there. And then obviously Edwards, I thought, was probably the more explosive one. So his scoring, range is probably beyond Blake Corum. So Blake Corum gets in there. You're running, behind 5'8", 215, 20 pounds. He's hard to stop down there. So I think, the running game this year is going to be huge for Michigan to get back to Michigan standards. And then obviously with the freshman quarterback, that's limited, even just being a freshman, but limited as far as his skills and obviously experience in the passing game. They have to run the ball well. That's where the tight end room led by Klein is going to have to be, phenomenal. And then obviously, the transfer portals and holdovers on the outside have to be very, very efficient. They have to, the thing is that to help a quarterback when they're young, whether it's by either a freshman or just playing, right? is that the guys that have done it before, whether you're a transfer portal guy or a holdover or a guy that's trying to earn sweat, you have to be excellent in separation. You know, the 50-50. You remember, the 2 years, the Matt Rule's first year, what Roman Wilson caught that one over. Right. Those passes are probably is 2 or 3 a season, if that. It probably once because of a freshman quarterback, because he won't be able to fit it in places to those 50-50 balls. And that's not even a 50-50 ball. That was just a Randy Moss play.
Yeah.
The receivers and the running backs, you have to define that you're open to make his reads that much clearer.
Nick, I'll get you on Michigan's schedule during the breaks. We can go over that and talk about how that'll set up for Bryce Underwood to get going. Jay, I'll give you a sec here to talk about Michigan's defense before we go to break. Obviously, Ernst Hausmann, one of the leaders on that team at linebacker. Down a couple studs in Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham, but we can be sure the cupboard's not exactly bare for Michigan.
Well, they went into grad transfers, and that's what you do. Is we talked about Michigan State. What do you do if you got a plug and play? You go get one guy for 6 months, and that's what they did. And then obviously it's led by, I think that Ernest Hausmann has been slowly but surely, and I think he took a huge leap from this first year to his second year last year. And so he's going to stir the pot. He's the leader. He's the captain of the defense, and he's been productive every single year, and especially productive last year, and especially in big games. That's where I thought that he took the big jump last year. He was very productive. But I think the ace in the hole is Rod Moore. He's in NFL. If he would have played last year and not got hurt, he's in the NFL. So you get an NFL player back. Now you got the 2 transfers in the middle, and they have a very good defensive line coach, right? And so then you get Hausmann, and then you got Rod Moore. How do you build a defense? You got to be tough, strong, experienced, and playmakers up the middle that allows everybody else play to Michigan standard. And with Wink Martindale, you're getting the exotic blitzes. So the guys that are younger, you accelerate their maturity by have them, blitzing out of that from a cover 2 safety look, blitzing off the corner, blitzing up the middle from the safety position. So that's where I think they're going to really expand their defensive roster and playmaking ability.
We will wrap up talking about Michigan when we return. We'll go through their schedule. How does that set up for freshman quarterback Bryce Underwood or transfer Mikey Keene to take over the reins for this Michigan offense and help them to a better rating offensively? Austin, Nick, and Jay will get to that to wrap things up here from Vegas after this.
This is Big Ten Media Days live from Las Vegas, presented by Advanced Medical Imaging, Stevens & Smith Construction, Currency, Warhorse Casino, Gary Michaels Clothiers, and League One Volleyball on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Noticing more dust at home? It may be time for duct cleaning from Bryant. Breathe easy and healthy. Call 467-1111. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Put lawn irrigation on automatic. Think Judson Irrigation for worry-free service to Lincoln homeowners and business community. Judson Irrigation will turn on your sprinkler system in the spring, repair or redesign as needed, and turn it off in the fall. For service to orphan sprinklers, remember Judson Irrigation. They'll never forget you.
Call the Judson Irrigation Orphanage, 402-420-6277 or judsonirrigation.com.
There's a lot on the line in divorce. This is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell, the largest family law firm in the country, with over 35 years of helping clients navigate divorce. But being big doesn't mean less personal or less local. Our attorneys live and work in your community, and as neighbors, they understand the challenges your families face. Divorce is complicated. It affects every part of your life, your home, savings, retirement, and of course, kids. So when you find yourself facing divorce and the unexpected directions that it can take, it's times like this that you need a partner you can count on.
If you're a man facing divorce, contact Cordell & Cordell today to connect with a local divorce attorney who understands the challenges you're facing on a personal level. Text GO99 to 323232. GO99 to 323232. GO99 to 323232. 1221 N Street, Lincoln. Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textingterms.us. Texting enrolls you for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply, stop to opt out.
Select Plumbing and Utility has been serving Lincoln and the surrounding area for 14 years, and they're not slowing down. Select Plumbing and Utility handles all your plumbing needs from faucets and water heaters to full renovations, and they can even help with your heating and cooling needs. They're also Lincoln's underground experts, repairing and replacing broken underground water and sewer lines since day one. Contact Select Plumbing and Utility today at 402-560-6197, assuring excellence in every situation, opportunity, and challenge. That's 402-560-6197.
MHC isn't new, just a new name. Mo's Moving is now Mo's Home and Commercial. Whether moving across town or across the state, MHC Moving has you covered, specializing in home, apartment, assisted, and independent living moves. MHC can also handle your commercial moves as well. There's never fees on trucks, stairs, elevators, long carry, and last-minute booking, and no trip or fuel charges. Also no upcharge on weekends, and they do offer payment plans through PayPal. Call MHC Moving today at 402-853-7167 or go to mhcmoving.com.
This is Bill Mitchner, Executive Director of Lincoln Lighthouse. Did you know Lighthouse provides multiple programs for students such as one-on-one tutoring and mentoring, as well as pro-social skill exercises, while providing them a nourishing meal and a safe space during all months of the year, even during school breaks. Learn more or contribute to Lighthouse at lincolnlighthouse.org today.
Advanced Medical Imaging is the largest radiology group in Nebraska, located in Lincoln at 7601 Pioneers Boulevard. At Advanced Medical Imaging, they utilize state-of-the-art technology and blend it together with their compassionate, skilled team to guide you through every step. Whether it's an MRI, CT scan, or X-ray, their precise diagnostics help your doctor deliver the best care plan for you. Choose clarity and comfort in your life by choosing Advanced Medical Imaging, located at 7601 Pioneers Boulevard and online at amimaging.com.
Are you ready for a new opportunity? Check out Sandhills Global. Join a dynamic team where your skills are valued and your career can soar. We offer full-time positions with a 4.5-day work week, competitive pay, excellent benefits, and a positive work environment. From IT and marketing to sales and finance, we're looking for talented individuals like you. Apply today at sandhills.jobs and take the first step towards an exciting future. That's sandhills.jobs. Don't wait, apply now.
I'm Karen Carr. I've been a realtor for 31 years. When I made a company change 12 years ago, I chose Lincoln First Realty, now NP Dodge. It's the oldest independently owned realty company in the country. Since becoming NP Dodge, we've continued our tradition of community involvement. Our management and staff are always available to offer support in marketing, technology, social media, and educational opportunities.
Expand your career with NP Dodge. Call Eric at 402-434-2222.
Batter up! Join us this summer at Haymarket Park for 50 action-packed Salt Dogs games running now through August. Visit saltdogs.com for updates on everything you need to know about weekly promotions, giveaways, and special events. That's where you'll find the latest updates to make sure you catch all the excitement and never miss a homestand you want to attend. Haymarket Park is your ticket to fun all summer long. Visit saltdogs.com to get your tickets and unleash the fun.
Welcome back to 93.7 The Ticket's coverage of Big Ten Media Days live from Las Vegas. Presented by Advanced Medical Imaging, Stevens & Smith Construction, Currency, Warhorse Casino, Gary Michaels Clothiers, and League One Volleyball on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Getting a little teary-eyed, a little misty. Someone, I don't know, it's tough. It's our last segment from Big Ten Media Days, fellas. Austin, Nick, and Jay with you. Let's give one shout-out, start of the segment, then again at the end, to our 6 fantastic sponsors. Currency, Stevens & Smith Construction, Gary Michaels Clothiers, Warhorse Casino, Advanced Medical Imaging, and League One Volleyball. If you're watching on the stream, you see the logos of those 6 wonderful companies right there below us. Cannot thank them enough for their help, their support in getting us out here to Las Vegas. Nick, I tasked you with pulling up Michigan football's schedule. I know we've gone over it in bits and pieces, right, regarding the Sharon Moore suspension that's forthcoming. But walk us through what the Wolverines are staring down this year.
Well, yeah. So obviously they're going to start out with the Sharon Moore stuff. They're going to host Michigan to start. Then the road game against Oklahoma. We know he's going to be active for that one. Obviously Sharon Moore, a former player for the Oklahoma Sooners, and so. Then you follow that up with a Central Michigan matchup at home, and then it's conference
Connor
play.
Stallions Bowl.
That's right, Connor Stallions Bowl. But then it's conference play for the Wolverines. First one we know it for Bryce Underwood. First conference game. It's going to be on the road in Lincoln on a game that they won't have their head coach for. But you look at the other road games that they have, it doesn't set up too difficult for the Wolverines, where it's at USC, at Michigan State, at Northwestern, and at Maryland. Obviously, the Nebraska and USC ones are pretty daunting and can be pretty daunting. But other than that, you get your Wisconsin Badgers at home, you get the Washington Huskies at home, and then you get the Ohio State the game at home in Ann Arbor this year. It sets up. It's not easy by any means for Michigan, but there's a lot of opportunities there that you get at home.
Jay, do you trust the roster around him to help ease him in as much as they can to that schedule?
I trust the defense that will do their part, and they will play tighter, right? And then eventually loosen the reins up. I think Klein's going to be another along the lines of a good tight ends in Michigan. I'm not sure on the running game just because they've had so much great, really good players. I think it's going to come down to, I think his name is McCauley on the outside.
Donovan McCauley, Indiana transfer.
Right. So the reason why it depends on him is because of Michigan. When you have a freshman or a quarterback, you need a big physical receiver. I talked about in the previous segment that you got to create separation. He's about, 6'4", right? Or he's listed at 6'4", 6'3".
Yeah, bigger dude.
Right, bigger guy. What that is going to allow him to do is not have to be pinpoint as far as accuracy, right? So that's where you can accelerate that passing game. A lot of shorter intermediate routes. You got to win off the line of scrimmage, use your body, and then obviously create some yards after contact or yards after the catch. And so I trust Michigan. They know how to win. I trust their offensive line. So I think they'll be able to weather the storm. I think when you look at the schedule, though, what really bodes well for them is besides on the road at Nebraska that early, and actually Oklahoma, and I'm going to kind of bypass Oklahoma because Sharon Moore would be there, right? So, but I'm just saying, okay, that Nebraska game, that's going to be the hardest one. You get Wisconsin at home, so maybe a little bit of a get right. Then you go to USC. Okay, that's a blue blood against blue blood. You feel like you can just bowl them over, right? Hopefully Lincoln Riley
did last year,
right? But you're right. But then you get an upstart Washington at home. It doesn't matter where the Michigan State game is played, even though it's on the road. Then you get Purdue at home. Then you go to Northwestern and Maryland. Two places you feel like you probably will have the home field advantage. So you really have, an extra 2 home games, even though you're playing on the road. And then when you play Ohio State at home, that's 3 in a row. And it doesn't matter. Ohio State and Michigan State, doesn't matter where you play. You play out there in the parking lot, it's going to be on. So I think they feel confident that they can kind of, weather the storm, that Nebraska game. If they're able to come out of that Nebraska game with their head, above water, they feel like they can make a run.
It seems like anecdotally freshman quarterbacks making the trip to Lincoln haven't maybe had as difficult a time as Husker fans would like them to have. What's going to be important for Nebraska in making Bryce Underwood's life miserable, their 4th game of the year?
Well, I think one thing, you got to hit him. I mean, he's a big kid. You got to hit him, though. I mean, I think now within the rules, but then more importantly, you can't give him any easy throwing lanes. You don't want with a freshman quarterback, and we saw this, we're up close approaching with Dylan. Dylan's is way more advanced than him throwing the football, and more college ready pass schemes coming out of high school, so forth and so on. So you want to take away his initial read, and you want to make sure that the pocket does not clean. That means for a big, tall guy, I think Bryce Underwood was 6'4".
6'4", yeah.
And now it depends on who you ask what his weight, because I think he had some weight problems, right? He was living his best life. So let's just say 225. So he's a big, tall kid. What you want to do is hit him, but then get the pocket to move. But you want to be around his lower extremities so he doesn't feel comfortable. It doesn't feel that he can step in and throw the ball with the type of velocity and accuracy that he wants to.
Here's a note from ESPN. They have Michigan ranked number 10 in the preseason SP+. Bill Connolly says it will require massive offensive improvement, but with a schedule featuring only 2 opponents projected better than 30th. That's Oklahoma at the start of the year and then Ohio State at the end. The Wolverines won't need a top 10 team to win a lot of games. So that's going to be interesting to monitor. Nick, as we get ready to sign off, let's go ahead and give you your final word here from Big Ten Media Days in Las Vegas.
Go ahead. Just ask Coach Smith if you can take a picture.
Jay. Here's the final things. I think that it's been a really, newsworthy couple of days at Big Ten Media Days. I think there's still a lot to find out as well about Big Ten Media Days, whether that's Michigan State and Coach Jonathan Smith, or whether that's Michigan and their whole situation with Sharon Moore. But then also, like, we'll hear from Lincoln Riley and USC today. I think there's a lot of things that we're gonna still hear as we are getting ready to get off the air. The most notable thing, though, I still go back to Tony Petitti. The way this whole thing got started with just the confidence and not the aggression, but just the forwardness, I think, of Tony Petitti of we're by the Big Ten, not going to settle. This is what we believe in. This is what the coaches want. This is what the athletic directors want. And we're not going to settle, and we're not going to sacrifice what we believe in, even if that means that we stay at 12 teams in the playoff this year.
Jay Foreman, your final thoughts here from Vegas.
Well, I mean, it was quick, but I think there's a lot packed in there. I think, obviously, to go along with Nick, I think how Nebraska handled himself was really, really good. And then, obviously, to see Ryan Day and Ohio State Buckeyes come in as defending national champions was different than trying to win a national championship. And so Oregon, I think, oddly enough, a team that has 8 million uniforms and obviously Phil Knight money kind of flew under the radar.
Yeah.
Dan Lanning, you didn't see
Very
much.
much
I mean,
so.
obviously a good-looking team. And then, obviously, Brett Bielema, I think, was the star as far as with the shoes. And then, obviously, riding high off of some of the things he was able to accomplish last year.
There you have it. That'll put a bow on our coverage from Big Ten Media Days out here at Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas. Big thank you to the staff here, the Big Ten staff as well, for making everything go pretty much as smoothly as we could ask for. Thank you to everyone back in the studio for making it possible. All our board ops, all our producers, getting us on air, keeping us on air, being flexible with us, helping us get through these last 3 days out here. Big thanks as well, maybe the biggest thanks to Currency, to Stevens & Smith Construction, to Gary Michaels Clothiers, to Warhorse Casino, to Advanced Medical Imaging, and to League One Volleyball Omaha for getting us out here to Vegas, for keeping us out here in Vegas for all 3 days, at least a part of this third day of Big Ten Media Days. We're going to hit the road. We'll head home. It's coming up today on The Ticket. We'll get you out back to 1040 O Street, Bach and the Black Shirt. We'll have On the Block and Old School featuring a lot of what we did here at Big Ten Media Days in case you missed anything of it. Been putting a plan together for that, rolling into Ticket Weeknights. We will be back a full day of normal content for you tomorrow on 93.7 The Ticket. But for Nick Sainer, for Jay Foreman, for Derek Pearson, this is Austin Norman signing off. Thanks a ton for listening to 93.7 The Ticket's coverage of the Big Ten Media Days in Las Vegas.
This is Big Ten Media Days live from Las Vegas, presented by